Now, once upon a time in professional wrestling, it used to matter what the fans thought.
For example, all you parents out there with kids, when your kids misbehave, you give the New Day a call. The New Day comes over to your house, and we will fight your children.
Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of wrestling sucks. But when it's good, it's fucking great. Wrestling is melodrama. Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
Who wants to take back professional wrestling?
Welcome everybody to episode 102 of Around the Ring. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Floyd, your Floyd and Savior Johnson. With me is Silky Dave Brown, and we have a special guest today, local professional wrestler, my friend for over 20 years, Daniel Rube. Daniel, how y'all doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for coming on the show, Daniel.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Silky Dave and Floyd and Savior Johnson. You know, Floyd, I gotta stop you right there. I appreciated that intro. All right, but you left something out. Okay? You left out I am the reigning, defending 430-day champion for my promotion, all right? That's big news.
And what is your promotion called?
It's called Blow. It stands for Balthazar's Legends of War. Over the years, we've changed the name from Balthazar's Ladies of Wrestling to Balthazar's Legends of Wrestling, and now we're Legends of War. It was inspired by the Glow series, from the 80s, and you can catch back up and see what that was all like on Netflix, and I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic show. And yeah, we just put on little wrestling shows here and there, and we got one coming up a week from tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. So, the week from tonight, who you're facing?
Well, we do theme shows. We never have like the straight up gimmicks. We do a lot of theme shows. Around Halloween, we have a Monsters Brawl show. We did about a year and a half ago. It was all WWF inspired wrestlers. I was Ric Flair. I took on Ravishing Rick Rude, and that's where I won my championship. And Sunday, in preparation for the premiere of Game of Thrones, we're doing Game of Blow. And I'll be wrestling as Joffrey, and I'll be wrestling against Arya in that match.
That is awesome. I went to one of his shows. I actually went to his first time as an in-ring performer. It is a great time. Let me just say, it's very much wrestling, but it's like a different take on it, almost like I would say a vaudeville take on it. It's very comedy based, and it's an amazing and entertaining show. Us here at Around the Ring are all about supporting local wrestling, and this is a different take on it. You'll be entertained because, like, he had one where you were Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, that was a show about a month ago. That was our Garbage Pail Kids themed show, and I was Donald Dump. To be specific, I had the suit, I had the hair, I had the makeup all around everything but my eyes, and I was wearing a pretty disgusting diaper, and I got the heck killed out of me. Can we curse? I can't remember if we can curse on this podcast.
Yes, you can curse. It is.
All right, I got this shit knocked out of me pretty well.
So this sounds fascinating. And where is this show going to be held?
This show will be at the Blue Note Lounge. It's on Northwest 23rd and Robinson in Oklahoma City. It's $5 to get in. You get all-you-can-eat Buffalo Wild Wings, and there's a show out back. Doors are at 8, and the show is at 9.
Okay, hold on. You're at the Blue Note? How does that work? Because I've been in this building. I have seen bands play there. There's a stage. It's smoky as fuck in that place. And there's not much of a floor. Where do you put a ring?
Out back.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be wrestling out back in the parking lot. So yeah, if it's raining, we can clear out all the tables, and our ring is small enough. We just got our new ring built and constructed. It took quite a long time. We broke off from Mid-South, who put on really great shows down at Plaza Mayor. But yeah, we're fully independent now.
Nice. So how did the organization start?
Well, Balthazar, she's a local artist, local performer, and she tells the story. Just one night, she just started wrestling around with her boyfriend Zeke, and she's the kind of person who, if she comes up with an idea, it's not like something that she forgets the next morning and just says, that probably wasn't that great. Anytime she comes up with an idea, and she is extremely prolific in the types of projects she puts together. She's put together Freddie Mercury tribute shows, Freddie Mercury tribute shows, Selena tribute shows. She does a lot of helping out around the community to at-risk kids. And so whenever she just decided she wanted to do a wrestling show, she just rounded up all of her friends, or at least all who would say yes, and we just put it together piece by piece.
Nice. So how did you get into actually wrestling?
Well, it's been quite a journey, really, because as I stated earlier, it was just Glow-inspired, Balthazar's Ladies of Wrestling. So whenever I got started, I just wanted to be involved in any capacity. I never expected to actually have a match or get in the ring. I always wanted to, or I thought just being a ref or being a manager would, that's enough of a boyhood dream, achieved right there. It was about 2 years into the project, we started having, not co-ed, but, ladies and men wrestle on the cards. And so, yeah, every time I go to practice, I would bump up. I've been watching my whole life, so I always knew the basics. I didn't have to have that much teaching, although it does hurt quite a bit, I just kept on going up there and bothering her, and she eventually started having males matches, and that's where I got my start.
Nice.
And I was going to ask a question. I like to ask this question when I do meet people that have actually done it. Tell me about your first bump.
My first bump was really not that bad. I remember this is whenever Mid-South was wrestling at the Golden Goose way down on 23rd. And one of the wrestlers, Ebony, she goes by Delicious Diva. I was just sitting watching, and she just told me, hey, get your ass in the ring. What are you doing? And so it's really simple. There's basic things you do whenever you bump up and warm up. It's a front roll, two front rolls, 2 back rolls, an arm drag, a hip toss, and a back bump. And I just watched for a little bit, and like I said, I've been watching my whole life anyways, and so I just went in, head first. Not literally, because that would kill me, but I just went in and I just did it, and the trainers were blown away by how easily I made it look. I wasn't, I was green, and I've learned to screw up bumps pretty bad too. I started getting really high on my back bump, and that caused me to lose control of my neck, hit the back of my head, see stars, and I was pretty gun shy from that point on. But it's just something you got to work at and face your fears, and that's what I've been able to do since then. So.
Nice. So now you said you were a lifelong wrestling fan. When did you first get into wrestling?
Honestly, my first memories are wrestling related. My brother Noel has been mentioned on the show. He's a great contributor to the podcast, contributing topics and everything like that. He got me into it whenever I was, God, I don't even know how old I was. That's how far it goes back. And I just remember watching, Andre and just being enamored with the Ultimate Warrior, and as far back as I can remember.
Nice.
Yeah, me and Noel have been friends since we were 5 or 6, so that's 30 years, and I've known Daniel ever since then. And me and Daniel share that in common, that like both our older brothers introduced us to wrestling. So when people ask us that question, how long have you been watching wrestling? All I can say is life. It's like there was no start. There's never been an end. It's just always going.
So you're like you guys are like Bullet Club or NWO. It's
for
life.
For life.
And you can't see this, but I literally did the hand gesture. So okay. So another question. You mentioned the theatricality of what you guys do at Blow. God, that's what a name. So are you guys kind of like the Oki Kaiju Big Battle?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to describe it. It's not nearly we don't have a sandwich out there wrestling, but I'd say this, I'd say Blow, I'd say it edges more on the theatricality aspect. I'd say it's, 70%, 30% show versus in-ring, technical prowess. Which is not to say that we don't put our asses out on the line, because, at the show last April, we went and we bid on, I think it was 18 folding tables, and we got them, and we had a TLC match at the end of the night, and every single one of those tables was destroyed at the end of it. It was, we really do go out there and work really hard and try and put on a great show for everybody. The wrestling is, I don't want to say it's secondary, but the wrestling, the show puts over the wrestling, if that makes sense.
That does.
And if you see how the crowd gets into it, it is a raucous and very entertaining crowd. I mean, they get very loud and they get very involved in the show, and it's and like I said, this is from my one experience going. It was very entertaining. I took a couple friends with me, and at the end of the night, it was like, wow, wow. You find yourself, you're like, okay, and I'll be honest, I'll be like, I kind of thought it was hokey at the beginning, but in the middle and towards the end, I'm completely into the show like I would be any other show. So
I will say
it is an entertaining evening.
I will say this. Floyd, he went to that show as my in-ring debut, and I wrestled as Phil Collins against Bruce Springsteen. And before the match, I got out and I cut this long promo about how, American music stinks. It's, just EDM and pop and crappy hip-hop and everything. And I'm putting myself over as, the king of, music and Britain and everything like that. And the crowd is just going nuts, just booing the hell out of me. My promo was my favorite thing that I did that night because it got legit heat. And after the show, I ran into Floyd, and I was like, hey, man, how was the promo? And he's like, I don't know. I couldn't hear a thing you were saying. The crowd was booing the hell out of you too loud.
Man, it was the reaction in it. It pretty much, I compare it to being at an NXT show. That's how loud it was.
Nice. So what are some of the when you guys have your shows, where do you normally have them? What are some of the bigger venues and bigger houses that you've drawn?
Well, whenever we were partnering with Mid-South, they had a much bigger ring than we do right now. So we were playing in places like the Farmers Market, kind of downtown, or rather west of downtown. That's where our big shows have been, on both floors of them. We've wrestled at Dead Center Film Festival. And now we're doing smaller shows since we're fully independent, and we're just trying to build our stuff back. Luckily, our fan base will follow us anywhere we play, and usually they'd be hanging out at places like the Blue Note or the Pump, so we don't really have to drag them too far.
Nice. And what kind of audience do you guys seem to get? Is it your typical wrestling fan? Is it more theater people? Or because as we're talking, I've pulled up y'all's Facebook page if you want to give a plug out to that, where people can find you guys online. But yeah, I'm looking at this, and it's so cool because you're looking at this, you're like, is this a wrestling organization? Is this a theater troupe? I don't quite know what the hell's going on here, and I like that.
Yeah, we've. I'd say that's exactly how Balthazar describes us. We're a theater troupe that wrestles. It's like really stiff stage combat, and that's what we're branding ourselves as right now. We're using wrestling as a medium for theater, and wrestling has always been theatrical, but we're trying to take it up a notch. Being more artists about it instead of athletes.
Very nice. Very nice.
Artistic athletes. That's what I describe us as.
So do you guys have we found the Facebook page, but do you guys have a website, Twitter handle, anything of that you want to plug?
No, blow-okc on Facebook is where we post all of our stuff. And, of course, all of the wrestlers, I'd say there's about 15 of us at any given time. Some are on the bench because of, prior obligations, work, and stuff like that. But I'd say we have a cycling roster of about 15, maybe 20 people, and go to a show and meet us and then ask on Facebook, and you can always, keep up with us there.
Now, the roster, do you find, is it more folks that are interested in theater stuff, or is it people who are interested in being wrestlers? Is there anyone who's using this as trying to, work their way up to that next bigger local indie, and then possibly, up the wrestling ladder?
I don't really think so. I know that Delicious Diva, she's worked a couple matches with Mid-South, but no, I think it's just all of our friends just getting together and having a good time. We share a common interest that we didn't really know we shared, and love of wrestling. And it's weird because whenever I tell people that, yeah, I'm wrestling, such and such date, and it's like, you're a wrestler? And it's like, yeah. It's like, oh man, inevitably people always say, it's like, God, I used to love watching wrestling. Watch wrestling. Is just the best. Where are you guys going to do this? And through that, we've gotten a lot of people because they see what we do, and then they're like, hey, how can I get in on this? So the roster is always growing. It's usually more artistic people, just because that's the kind of people that I hang out with. There are some extremely athletic people in our group too, but I don't think anybody is actually looking at this as a catapult to a different indie federation. And honestly, that's not something I think I would want to do. It's not something like that really interests me, because I'm getting to wrestle on my own terms, and I'm sure I would have that option with other promotions. But right now, it's like Weekend Warriors stuff. A show every 6 weeks or something like that. It's not something that I have to focus on whenever I'm not focusing on work or something like that.
That's cool. That kind of reminds me, and please don't take this the wrong way because this is meant as a compliment. When I was in junior high, I think 9th grade, it's because where I lived, junior high was in, 9th grade was still in junior high. That was in Central Florida. In PE, there was, we had to go and play kickball. And so there were all the jocks had their group, and all of us nerds, we played our own game. And our games were actually really good and fun. And so the jocks started coming over and trying to get involved in our games. We were like, no, leave us alone. You go over there. We're having fun over here. And so the way you describe this, that reminds me of that same kind of feeling. It's like it's a bunch of people who are just getting together and having fun doing it for fun's sake. And I think that is really, really cool. I'm gonna have to definitely get to one of your shows sometime soon. So that's freaking awesome. So now, when you guys go to the Blue Note, do you ask them to put out the cigarettes?
No, I mean, it's a smoking venue, unfortunately. This will be our first show at the Note. Everywhere else we've wrestled, be it, Farmers Market, Pump, Plaza Mayor, Dead Center, that's non-smoking. But the good thing is that the show will be outside, so you can get away with it. I realize how that can be pretty annoying and offensive, just having that much smoke in that space, But I still hope people will at least bear the room enough to get some of the chicken wings.
Yeah, the first time I ever went there was the first time I had kind of realized that smoking was no longer allowed in venues, because I'd almost always gone to the same place. It's had many different names over the years. It's now the 89th Street Collective. I've seen more shows there than anywhere over the years. And
Me too.
At some point, the smoking stopped in there, and I don't think I ever noticed it. And then once I walked into the Blue Note once to see a show, and I was hit with this haze, this cloud of smoke. I was like, oh my God. My throat hurt. I felt filthy. I had to wash everything when I got home. I had to take a shower. It was just, smoking is gross. I mean, if you want to smoke, fine, kill yourself, whatever. I don't really care, but it's really gross.
I'm just going to let you know, Dave, you are talking to a smoker.
You smoke?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, I smoke at the Blue Note quite a lot, too.
Hey, man.
I was just saying, I'm just like, you're just burying the dude right now. I'm like, he smokes.
Yeah.
No, but what's great is I agree with all of Dave's points, but I'm still doing it.
Yep, I feel the same. I feel the same way about eating bacon. I know it's horrible, but I'm going to eat bacon all day.
Oh, man. There's nothing bad about bacon.
Exactly. Yeah, it's slowly clogging your arteries, but hey.
I mean, you can make up with that with some cardio or something. Yeah, like I'm doing that.
Oh, God. No, it's the worst, man. I'll tell you, I'll share a story with you. On that first match, the one that Floyd went to, I cut the promo, and I'd say it was about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes or something, and I am just shouting into this microphone. And Springsteen comes out, we jaw back and forth, and then I go to the back for my entrance. And as I'm walking to the ring, I realize, oh my God, I just spent all of my gas cutting that promo. How the hell am I going to wrestle 2 matches right
Got
now?
blown up from the promo.
And the whole time I was wrestling, I thought I was going to piss myself because I was so nervous. So I'm telling my manager, give me my towel. I'm just like, I'm not going to get through this. I got to piss. He's like, it's okay. Prince is about to come out and he's going to kick your ass. I'm like, okay, just get him out of here. And then as soon as that's done, just get me straight to the back, dude. Just get me through this.
Nice.
I can't remember who did it, but during that show, I saw a powerbomb that I would say was as stiff as anything I ever saw in Japan. And I was like, I thought the person on the bottom was dead, and she just jumps back up, and it's like, all right, this is good. This is good stuff.
Okay, so Daniel, what is your finishing move?
I have the Danik Mapression, and I've only had to use it once because there was one match at Plaza Mayor that the opponent guy I was wrestling, his cue was to roll me up and get a sneaky pin on me after I yell at the crowd, "You're looking at the new face of Blow." And I got all the boos and everything, and I'm just like wondering where the heck he is. And so I say it again, and then I realize, motherfucker just forgot the finish. Great job. So I grab the guy, and I lock him up, and I put him in a headlock, and I just tell him, "Hey, you're taking them oppression." And he knew what that was because we had practiced it. I grab someone's arm, go behind them, and lock their arm up behind their neck and start to choke them with it as much as I can. And then I do a double back-to-back body drop, and then try and go for the pin there as fast as possible. So try and choke them out and then knock the rest of their air out and go for the 3.
Nice. I like that. I can't wait to see that in action. But hey,
I can't wait to be able to use it. I keep on losing all the time.
Yet you're still champion. So,
the Pump Show wasn't an actual match. I came out and then everybody just beat me down. So I am still reigning champion.
So here's the thing, though. What you need to do is you need to get that on tape at a show and hit that move and have the place go nuts. Get that on YouTube, and within 6 months, Seth Rollins will be using it as his finisher.
Well,
that's okay. I'll start using the curb stomp again.
But he'll do very much a worse version of the move.
Oh, much worse. Which, how is that possible? Seth Rollins is a great wrestler, and he cannot do that Rainmaker knee for shit. How?
Because I mean, to do it effectively, he would displace your nose every time. So I'm pretty sure after breaking John Cena's nose with his knee, he's kind of overly cautious.
True, but I mean, Kenny Omega does it and looks like he kills everyone, and hasn't broken a nose yet that I know of.
Yeah, it looks like crap, and I wish Seth Rollins would watch video and see that it looks like crap.
But you got to know, he's got to hear some of that, because we're not the only ones who are saying your move looks like shit. So it's at some point he's going to watch it and have to watch it and go, ooh.
I was wrestling with him. I just wouldn't sell it. I'd make him do the the flip that he does. I forgot what it's called.
The Phoenix Splash?
Yeah, Phoenix Splash. I think I'm thinking if he was going to switch, he should use that as his finisher because he does it so smoothly. But yeah, that's off to another subject. We're talking about Dan now. Anything else you want to share with us about Below?
Not really. I mean, a lot of our shows are free, so just come on out. We're doing this one because we're still building up to our bigger show. So we're having fundraisers. We're the $5 wings and the show. We're doing a kids party in a couple months, so that'll be fun. Over at the High-Low, we have lip sync battles every couple of weeks to help fund us. So we're out here. Just like us on Facebook, blow-okc on Facebook, and come check it out. That's all I can say. I guarantee you will have a great time because I'd say our audience, not even 5%, maybe 10% actually like wrestling or follow wrestling. The other 90%, we've gotten them into wrestling because of our shows, because going to a live show versus watching on TV is such a different experience. And I think people are starting to realize that now. And so I'm really happy for all the support this city has given us, and I'm thankful to Balthazar for letting me be a part of this and achieve these dreams of mine. And I love everyone I wrestle with, and I just want to share that with anybody who's interested. So come on out to the show on the 9th.
And last, when you lose on Blow, do you call it pulling a blowjob?
Well, I know about jobbing, and I'm in Blow, so yeah, let's go with it. I'm the blow jobber.
I know it was horrible. It was horrible when I thought of it. I just had to say it. There's something in me. So Dan, you gonna stick around with us for the rest of the show and cover some topics?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Awesome.
Right,
real quick though, I do have to ask one last question. So you mentioned that how this is similar to the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And this is for both of you, did either of you actually watch Glow as a kid?
I did. I remember watching it on Saturday mornings, and I've actually watched the documentary and the TV show that goes along with it. I mean, wrestling to me back then, I was way less of a snob than I am now. So it was just any wrestling was wrestling. I didn't know that they were it was a different take on wrestling. It was just wrestling.
And for me, it was a little past my time. I was born in '86, so the only thing we were watching back then was WWF and the Clash of the Champions. But I was always familiar with Blow. Like I'd always heard about it. It was like this big rumor of ladies wrestling. And whenever I joined this project, I went back and I watched the Glow documentary, and I finally got what Balthazar was trying to achieve. I really enjoy the show on Netflix. I think it turned out way better than I was expecting.
I haven't yet watched that. It's on my queue to watch this summer, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I did watch a bit of Glow as a kid, and I always was like, what the hell is this? Because I would when I was a kid and I was watching wrestling, I would watch WWF, NWA, the stuff on TBS, World Class, watch a lot of World Class Championship Wrestling, and then I would see Glow. I would, like Floyd, I would watch whatever I could find on TV. And so yeah, that's I'm looking forward to checking that out. So
you watch one episode, you will watch all the rest, all the 10. That's how it was. Like I was just watching it because Allison Brie was super hot, and yeah, after I watched the first episode, it completely draws you in.
And it's really fun, like going through the show and seeing all the wrestler cameos. Someone even pointed out that Bayley and Sasha Banks in the opening credits from NXT TakeOver, but it's like all in like 80s neon. But somebody spotted them in the opening credits, and Johnny Mundo is in it, Carlito, Brodus, and I haven't even finished the series yet.
Yeah, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian's in it. Chavo Guerrero was the on-site coordinator of wrestling. So you will see a lot of the people that are making appearances are people that Chavo's familiar with. One of the stars of the show is Awesome Kong, a.k.a. Karma. She is actually one of the main characters on the show.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it at some point. Now, Floyd, have you watched the entire thing?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I will have to, once I get through it all, we'll do a review of it here on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm watching it again for the review to remind. Like I said, I was very entertained by the show. It's a very watchable show. So, yeah, I knocked it out, I think, in 2 days, just because I have to watch it while I'm working.
Very nice. Well, you know what?
That's a risky watch at work, Floyd.
Yeah.
That's a risky watch at work.
Yeah, see, well, to explain, I work somewhere where they have a guest Wi-Fi that does not go through my company's internet.
Sneaky. Perfect.
Oh man. Well, let's we got a lot to talk about this week because there's a lot going on. A couple big events this weekend, and I think just for something different, let's start with one that is getting an actual surprising amount of buzz, and that is Slammiversary 15. TNA or Impact or now Global Force Wrestling, whatever the fuck this company's going to be called by the time this is all said and done. Have either of you watched the little, like, the intro video package that they put together? Cage Side Seats posted it. Have either of you seen that?
I have not seen it. I knew it was there. I plan on watching the show tonight, and it's the cold open, so I figured I'd just watch it then.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I give no shits about TNA. I hate the six-sided ring. I like some of their talent. I think the announcing they have is awful. I'm just not a fan. I watched this video package and I'm like, damn, I'm actually going to watch Slammiversary. This makes me want to watch this mess.
It's funny because, unfortunately, it feels like they're starting over. Because I do remember being on the weekly pay-per-views for $9.99. And I remember watching with my friend Matt, and I just remember it was like, the thing about it is it was way edgier. Because it was on pay-per-view, they could just flat out cuss. And that was what drew me in, is that it was very much an adult wrestling show. It actually kind of reminded me of Progress. So that's what drew me in. And now it's like you're trying to build a company, but you can't be edgy because you're on cable television and, Pop TV, or what channel are they on now?
They're on Pop.
They are on Pop. I usually watch it. I usually watch a stream from online, so I don't even know what channel that they're on most of the time. But once you deal with that, it's like you're trying to do it, but you can't really do anything too much different than what the WWE does. So you don't have that way to differentiate yourself.
Well, and see, here's the thing about that too is, how many times at this point have they started over? And it seems like they just keep on running in circles. They've hired Jeff Jarrett again, and he's brought Global Force into it, which I don't even know if they even ran shows at one point. I think they had like one show, and I didn't hear anything about it, and then Jeff Jarrett started selling gold. And it's just like, okay, if you want to be different, and I understand that's what they're trying to achieve, be different, but make it good. They're taking their like different in the bad way. Like you said with the 6-sided ring, it just I've never been a fan of it. And then whenever they had Hogan and Bischoff come in and they made it a standard squared circle, it just looked like any other show. And it's sad because you have a lot of talent there and a lot of talent that has somehow stayed there, but it seems like they just keep on running the same stuff over and over again. And it's too bad that the Hardys left, because whenever that was going down, I was watching every week just for that segment. That and Eli Drake, because he is fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in the past week, Anthem officially bought or acquired Global Force. Now, Global Force was running house shows. They did one set of TV tapings. And I got to give credit where credit is due. They were the folks over at the Voices of Wrestling flagship podcast were talking about this week, and it's actually quite freaking hilarious. The first hour and a half of their show this week was just great, good listening. If you're not listening to us, and you should be listening to us, go give that a shot after you listen to this. But they talked about they went over this set of TV tapings. And 90% of the people that were on there are contracted somewhere else. It was like Bobby Roode was in the main event. It was crazy. And so here's how they hired Jeff Jarrett to come in, and he brings in Dutch Mantel and all his people to kind of retake over creative. Then he convinces Anthem to buy out Global Force. They did it in kayfabe, they did it, but then they actually did it. And then the Tennessean, which is a newspaper out of Nashville, ran a story that TNA, which already the TNA part of TNA is gone. Thankfully, we don't need any more double entendre, stupid ass names.
Hey.
Well, yours is actually clever. Let's. Blow is clever. Okay.
Yeah, keep backing up, Dave.
Yeah, I'm digging out of that hole.
Stay in your lane, Dave.
Yeah, but come on. Yeah, that TNA, terrible name for an organization. Just
absolutely
stupid. So they got rid of that, which was smart, because they've needed to rebrand for a long time.
They tried to rebrand it Impact Wrestling before, and it failed. People just call it TNA.
Right. Well, part of the problem is you're calling it Impact Wrestling now, but they're still using the same belts. And now after the Slammiversary show, they're going to bring out new belts apparently. But the news is that the organization is now going to be GFW, and the show's still going to be called Impact, like WWE Raw or WWE SmackDown or whatever. But yeah, it's what Jeff Jarrett, man, you got to give this man props. He is a snake oil salesman like none other in all of history. You wonder how much of that gold from that gold scheme, that Ponzi scheme he was running, did he have to give to Anthem to make the sale go through? And he's running the company.
I wouldn't imagine. Let me just say, like you, I imagine Anthem probably liked the name Global Force better. It sounds better. Global Force Wrestling. It does sound better. It's a name. It brings the idea that it is a world organization and that they could someday compete with WWE. Because it was TNA and then WWE. And TNA really did sound like an indie promotion. And GFW, I'm guessing with Anthem backing it, their goal is to become either the solid number 2 or even one day in a few years compete with the WWE. And let me just say this about Jeff Jarrett, the snake oil salesman, as he called it. When he was doing it originally, before they brought Dixie on, it was successful, and I remember a lot of people I knew, a lot of hardcore wrestling fans, watched TNA and not the WWE. He put on a great product. And it was funny because, you had Eric Bischoff say the one thing he did to make WCW successful was to do everything opposite of the WWE. But then he comes in into TNA, and the first thing he does is make everything look like a poor version of the WWE.
I think Bischoff's thing is he's kind of a one-trick pony. He's got like one thing he does, and he did it well, and you try to expand much past that, and it doesn't work. He was a guy who was successful. He was in the right place in the right time, and had the right circumstances.
One great storyline, and it hit.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jarrett, I will give you this, man. I would not want to do business with Jarrett because I know at the end of the day, no matter how long it takes, he's probably going to win. So my hat's off to him. It's, good for the dude. I'm sure he's burned so many bridges over the years. See, I'm going to counter though the argument. I don't think GFW is that good of a name. I would have rather them gone with like IPW, Impact Pro Wrestling, or IWA, Impact Wrestling Association, something like that. Keep the name Impact and just make it something just other than just calling it the Impact Champion. Or even, you could even go with Anthem Impact Wrestling, but there's already an AIW out there, so you can't really do that. To me, I hear Global Force Wrestling, and maybe it's because I've been in the bubble of the wrestling fandom, and I know all the jokes, and the wrestling boom that Jarrett said was coming that never came, and on all of this, and I see that name, and I'm like, wow, that name. As much of a stank as TNA had on it, this name is also not good. It screams of trying too hard and failing. But maybe to a grander audience that hasn't been paying attention to the nitty-gritty of this crap and reading the rumor mills every day, maybe to them it'll work better. And if that's the case, great. But at the end of the day, the good thing is they're getting away from the name TNA. They're doing a fresh start. Because even though Jarrett had some great years there in the beginning, TNA, the stink of it is so bad that they have to start over. And at Slammiversary, they have to crown new champions. They have to give them new belts. It needs to be a clean slate.
Whenever I hear the name Global Force Wrestling, I just immediately associate with Jeff Jarrett, and it just makes me, my interest just plummets. Whenever, I didn't really have a problem with Impact Wrestling. I thought it was just like, okay, they're rebranding. I get it. Billy Corgan was there. I thought he did a tremendous job. I was really excited for TNA. Not just because I was a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan and, still am, but you could tell that he actually gave a fuck about the wrestling. He's been a lifelong wrestling fan. I remember there was a couple years back, he played a show in Tulsa, and then he had a day off in between, I think, a Dallas show. He went to a TNA house show down at the fairgrounds here in Oklahoma City, just hang out as a normal person, just walked up, bought his own ticket, and just watched the show. So this guy loves wrestling. I don't know why they couldn't sell it to him because he was doing really great things for the company. And now that Jarrett is here and we have the name Global Force Wrestling, which I love the names that you threw out, Dave. I think that would really disassociate from what it was, from this thing that Jarrett tried to do but never really got off the ground. But here we go. It's Jarrett. Never drew a dime in his whole career, and he's always put the belt on himself whenever he was running Impact, 10, 15 years ago, and he just thinks he's way better than he ever was, and I think that really shows in his booking and in him as a businessman, too. And so it's just not something that I can really get a part of or really get back behind right now unless I start seeing serious results and change, and maybe Slammiversary is the beginning of that, and I certainly hope it is. But as it stands right now, they have a lot of work to do to win me back as a fan.
I do think a big problem that Global Force is running into now is back when TNA started, WWE employed 60, maybe 70 wrestlers, right? And you had this huge talent pool to choose from of people that were really talented but just hadn't got seen or signed by the WWE for whatever reason that you had. Now you have WWE. With WWE, you have Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Then you have just people that are below NXT just going to work every day and developing. So you don't have the talent pool that you once had to build new people. So I honestly think, other than the big names, like the people that have burned bridges with the WWE, aka Lashley, Alberto Del Patron, and Matt Sydal, and other than that, you're kind of getting a third tier. You're trying to bring along these new people that literally will never get signed by the WWE, and so it is making it a little difficult.
So I thought Matt Sydal was in New Japan.
I thought he was in jail.
No, he's been on Impact Wrestling quite a bit. I think he's kind of that free agent thing that they do, and that's the only way they can get people to kind of show up that everyone doesn't know, because now ROH has exclusive contracts for the most of the time. They have their deal with New Japan, so it's like they're going to have to try to bring in wrestlers, people off the street, and hopefully get some athletes that way and put them on TV. So it is a different world as far as indie wrestling, because WWE is signing the indie wrestlers now.
Hold on a second, guys. I think Jeff Jarrett is calling my phone. I'll be back in a second.
I think I'm the only Jeff Jarrett guy. I think I am out here on the island defending Jeff Jarrett, and I will continue to defend Jeff Jarrett. I've met him several times. He's always really, really nice to me. And he has a very old school way of thinking with wrestling. And it's honestly a way I enjoy a lot of times. But I can say we do need wrestling is at this point where it evolved in the 90s, and it's almost time. It's definitely time for it to evolve again.
The problem, Global Force, whatever this new thing is going to be having problems if within 6 months Jarrett is the champion. If Jarrett puts that belt on himself at any point, it is game over. Now, I know that putting the belt on the owner is standard practice in old school wrestling. How long was Vern Gagne, the AWA champion, at 50 whatever the fuck? Balding, not in shape, Vern Gagne, world champion, whatever.
Yep, Jarrett doesn't wrestle anymore, really. I mean, he did at Oklahomania last year, but it was a match with Jerry the King Lawler where I honestly can say there was about 5 or 6 moves the whole match. It was pretty much a lesson in wrestling psychology, because they more played to the crowd than did actual moves, because you may kill Jerry the King Lawler if you do actually moves on him, and that's what it is. But he doesn't wrestle like that. He's not interested in wrestling like that. So that is one thing I can ease your mind with. He went through a lot of trouble to find a new face of the company. They wanted Drew Galloway or Drew McIntyre in the WWE. He went to the WWE. They wanted, I forgot who their backup plan was. Like Lashley, El Patron is pretty much their backup to their backup plan.
Yeah, well, and the problem with McIntyre is they offered him a contract too late. They did the same thing with the Hardys. The Hardys wanted to stay there because the Hardys had the sweetest of sweetheart deals in TNA. And Jarrett, to his credit, and I got to agree with the Voices of Wrestling guys on this, to his credit, he looked at how much TNA was paying out to the Hardys, and how much they were bringing in because of that. Is all of the Hardys merch, the Hardys sold themselves. They weren't doing house shows, and even though the Hardys were a proven draw on house shows, they weren't getting any of that money. And there was this buzz, and there was a lot of videos online were being watched, but the ratings for Impact kept going down during that period. So from how much am I spending out versus how much am I bringing in with these two cats, I don't blame them for cutting bait on the Hardys. Drew Galloway, I don't know why they waited and didn't offer him a contract sooner, because he was just in Evolve doing his Evolve thing, and then next thing you know, WWE swooped in and was like, "Hey, you want to come hang out at NXT?" And he said, "Okay, sure." And had TNA offered him something beforehand, he probably would have gone there.
That was all the gender of it all. Jinder Mahal, he pretty much negotiated the deal between McIntyre, because they're best friends in real life, From what I've always understood is that he pretty much said, "Hey, come back," and he negotiated everything, or at least made the phone call that got them connected.
Well, that's good. I'm glad because I'm enjoying the former Galloway on NXT. I think he's a great fit for them. So let's go ahead and go through the Slammiversary card now. But before we do, Daniel, I got to ask you a question. You mentioned the Smashing Pumpkins. What is your favorite Pumpkins record?
Siamese Dream.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, and not Melancholy from the Infinites, whatever the hell. Yeah.
I have no.
Hey, I'm a huge Adore fan though.
Really?
I love Adore.
Okay. See,
I didn't even know Billy Corgan was a Smashing Pumpkin until last year.
Okay, then. That's okay, Floyd. But yeah, to me, the Smashing Pumpkins had two great records, and that was Gish and Siamese Dream, and then they died.
Oh, man.
Though I will say that one, they put out one a couple of years ago, maybe it was Oceana or something, where it was kind of a return to form. But at this point, the Smashing Pumpkins are Billy Corgan and hired guns. So it's not the Smashing Pumpkins, it's Billy Corgan solo.
Well, I always found it interesting that coincidental is a neat little coincidence is I think it was the bassist or something was one of the girls on the Siamese Dream cover, and Billy didn't know that whenever he hired her, and it's just like, oh, and by the way, I was on your second record or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so Floyd is now. Let's wake him back up because we talked music for a moment and he dozed off.
Hey, if you want to talk about Jay-Z's 444, I can go all day.
I know not of what you speak, sir. All right, so let's start this off. I'm pulling this card from our good friends at Wikipedia because we know they're always right. But looks like there is the tag team match, Impact and GFW tag team unification match, LAX, which is going to be Ortiz and Santana versus Drago and Phantasma, because I can't pronounce the rest of that, versus, good God, who the fuck are these people? Two dudes I can't pronounce. And versus Laredo Kid and Garza Jr.
Okay.
I don't know any of these people.
So Drago and El Hijo de Fantasma are from CMLL.
Wait, I do know Drago, because from Lucha Underground.
Yeah, and Naomichi Marufuji and Taiji Ishimori are from the Japanese organization Noah.
Okay.
So that is them playing into the global side of them with this four-way match. Latin American Exchange is going over. They have pretty much been given the Oscar Goldberg push. They have not taken a pinfall since they got together.
And to stand myself corrected, Phantasma, for those who watch Lucha Underground, is King Cuerno. And that dude's awesome. So if I would say I would want Drago and King Cuerno to win, I'm just going to call him King Cuerno. Sorry. But yeah, LAX is probably going to win. What do you think, Daniel?
LAX all the way. That they have they've been in TNA one way or another. The LAX name has been, at least. And like you said, halfway through, naming off this match, you don't know who the fuck any of these guys are, except for, the Lucha Underground people who you might not even recognize, unless you're, smartened up pretty good to those things, which apparently you guys are. But yeah, LAX, they are getting the push. I can't see them, losing this match. That's just ridiculous.
But yeah, I am the TNA correspondent, or Impact Wrestling, or Global Force Wrestling correspondent of this show. So I actually am the one that watches it. So I am very much more familiar with all the people in the match.
I swear I'm going to call it TNA 50 more times. It's like whenever Chad Johnson changed his name to Ocho Cinco. It's going to take a long time to get used to.
Yeah, it is going to. So so LAX are the GFW champions. Who are the...
No, they are the unified champions.
Oh, so they already unified it. Yeah,
they won. They won the tag titles when they because the Hardys had to relinquish them, or apparently the other group took the belts from them. They did a tag team tournament. Latin American Exchange won that one. Then they did a Global Force tag team tournament because Gallows and Anderson were the Global Force champions, and they're in WWE. So you have this. So you had to basically have two tournaments. Latin American Exchange won both of them, so they are the unified tag team champions.
And speaking of people who are now in other organizations that hold GFW gold, Cody is the GFW Next Gen champion. I don't suspect we'll be seeing him drop that belt anytime soon.
They're just gonna let it down.
Okay, yeah. So are they gonna also let the Grand Championship belt die?
No, because honestly, Moose has gotten that belt over.
Can at least just be a secondary title, a regular secondary title, and not whatever the stupid ass rules they've got for it?
We're going to have to wait and see. I don't know what their plans for it. But, yeah, Moose has gotten that title. He is over. He has defended it in all sorts of countries. Whenever he goes to another organization, he goes as the the grand champion. So that is Billy Corgan. That was his idea. That was his contribution.
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
I just want to say I am a huge fan of Moose. That guy... He is more appropriately named than like the Goon, Like he looks like a freaking wild animal, and he moves so well for how big he is too. I think he has gotten that belt over, and yeah, props to Billy Corgan for introducing something like that.
And I think it filled a need is because they needed a secondary title. I'm a firm believer in organizations having a secondary title. If you've got any depth to your roster, you need things for people to fight over. And the X Division Championship, which we're going to talk about next, is really, for all intents and purposes, a cruiserweight type belt. So in this going forward, having the Grand Championship be that secondary, that U.S. title, that IC title, is fine. I'd rather it be a standard, title and not have to, what kind of match are we going to have? Let's just, go in there and have a match. But I digress. Moose isn't even on this show.
Quick question. Can you still cash in the X Division title for a shot at the main one?
Ooh.
Ultimate, that Destination X, yeah, they did it last year. So
okay. I really like that idea that, hey, you're vacating and you get the shot. It really put the screws to the choice, and I found it a very interesting concept.
And yeah, like Floyd was just saying, it's very old school, because back in the day, or if you ever read Pro Wrestling Illustrated or got any of the magazines, and they had the rankings in the back, it always had the U.S. champion was the number one contender to the NWA World Champion. The Intercontinental Champion was the number one contender for the WWF World Champion. So that I do like that. That is cool. Speaking of the X Division, Sanjay Dutt is going to defend against Low Key. I'm thinking they're going to keep it on Sanjay because he's got some momentum right now.
2 out of 3 falls match. They have just launched a show in India, the Impact show in India. So I think just like the WWE, they want to keep an Indian face with the title, and I think Sanjay Dutt does go over Low Key. Of course, 2-1, because no 2 out of 3 falls match has ever ended any other way.
I feel so bad for Sanjay Dutt right now because, well, I feel bad for anybody that has to wrestle Low Key because he is the stiffest person. People refuse to work with him. By all accounts, he has a really bad attitude too. But I've never met the guy. This is what I've heard from everyone that's come into contact with him. The reason he won NXT season 2 and he was gone. He was released before he even got his title shot. That's how big of a or how difficult this guy is to work with. So that being said, I'm taking Sanjay Dutt, and he's going to have to earn it, and he's going to feel it.
So it makes you wonder, who would you rather not get in the ring with, Low Key or Vader?
Oh, God. Well, if I'm in the ring with Vader, I got a 50% chance that he's going to keel over in the ring right now, so I'd take Vader.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm pretty sure at 50, 60 years old, the mustard on those punches aren't there anymore.
Good point. All right, next up we've got a Full Metal Mayhem match, which my understanding is basically a TLC match. Eddie Edwards and Alicia Edwards taking on Davey Richards and Angelina Love. The American Wolves are no more. So I haven't been watching. I've heard this has been a really good feud that started out terrible.
I was going to say, this is probably the most uninteresting storyline on TNA. It's just pretty much, as I've heard rumors that Triple H called them vanilla midgets, that's exactly what they are.
See, I love them as a tag team, though.
Oh, well, you know what? And I did not dislike them as a tag team, but neither one of them can promo to save their life. Angelina Love's been doing all the promos for Davey Richards because he can't promo to save his life. Eddie Edwards I'm serious. I'm just like, Eddie Edwards, he walks down the street, I think he's 8 other guys. He's just so boring.
So yeah, I couldn't pick any of these people out of a lineup. This is just a match.
Yeah, and it's a mixed tag match, and that's the only thing that I can say is different, is because it's going to have the women in there doing the hardcore shots, just like the men. But let me just tell you, I wanted to want this rivalry. I wanted to like this rivalry. They did it in ROH, Davey and Eddie, and it was 10 times better. And now that they're doing it in GFW, and Davey Richards is supposed to be this, super heel, and it's just, I'm not buying it.
All right. Well, we know both of them are good workers. So.
They're amazing workers. It's just boring. It's just like there's nothing in it. It's just like if you met 2 guys on the street and they just happen to know how to wrestle.
Okay. Now, is Davey Richards still involved with Evolve? Because I know he was one of the he kind of helped run it, or was one of the owners of Evolve or something. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I don't know. Honestly, I will say that Richards is one of those people that I like I said, after I watched it, and they were supposed to have their big blow-off match, and that was supposed to be the end of the rivalry. They talked about the week that it was the end of the rivalry, and I watched it, and I wasn't that impressed, and then the rivalry continued.
Every time I hear Davey Richards' name, I think of Stevie Richards, and I get disappointed that it's not him.
Nice. All right, next up, I have to stand corrected. Moose is on this show. It's a standard tag team match. D'Angelo Williams and Moose taking on Chris Adonis and Eli Drake. Chris Adonis, also known as Chris Masters.
And let me add some color to this match also. D'Angelo Williams last year was the backup running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had not signed a free agent deal in the NFL. He is a lifelong wrestling fan. Every access that I have been to over the last 5 years or whatever since WrestleMania 30, D'Angelo Williams has been at. He is a huge wrestling fan. He just buys the regular tickets, and he walks around and sees the wrestlers and talks to wrestling fans on normal. So this was a lifelong dream. He went up to Canada to train Scott D'Amore, and he's actually been training since February for this one match. Of course, they knew they were going to do it. Him and Moose, they've always been friends, but I don't think they were ever teammates. Oh, no, Moose played for Carolina. So, yeah, they were teammates on the Carolina Panthers. And Chris Adonis and Eli Drake have been kind of teaming up and helping, both going after Moose's grand championship. And he called in D'Angelo Williams to help him out with the match.
This should be a good match. Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, Moose and D'Angelo Williams. I don't think D'Angelo Williams... I mean, if this is a one-shot thing, Moose and D'Angelo Williams go over. I mean, that was their thing, to try to get people that don't know who Global Force Wrestling is to watch, because this has been covered on ESPN, NFL Network. They've gotten a lot of pub from it.
Now, is D'Angelo still an active NFL player?
He's a free agent right now, so he can be signed, and I'm thinking... I think that's why he waited to sign, because once you're under NFL contract, you really can't wrestle.
Okay.
There's no way that Moose and Williams, lose this match. You don't bring in a guy like D'Angelo Williams and then have him job, because that's not what wrestling does. And that always bothered me, that you'll bring in somebody and it'll make your guys look bad. It just puts wrestling down that much further on the totem pole compared to other sports. But that being said, everybody knows it's a work, and come on, let's just have some fun. D'Angelo Williams and Moose are going over.
So, real quick question for you guys, impromptu on the spot. Who have been some of your favorite celebrities/athletes that have gotten in the ring at some point?
Stephen Amell for me.
I'm going Mayweather.
My favorite, surprisingly, because she did a lot more than I thought she was, as a female, was Snooki.
Snooki was impressive.
Yeah, she did a lot more. She was surprisingly athletic, and that's why I'm ranking her this high. It's because when they announced the match, it came out of nowhere, so I was expecting nothing, and she actually put in some good work. Maria Menounos is also pretty good, also with that.
She's good. She's good at doing the Hard Times promo. Yeah, she does that really well. I really liked. I thought Stephen Amell, like Floyd, I thought he did a really good job. Other than he looked like a little person. It was like he was a hobbit out there next to Neville.
He's amazing shape for a normal person.
Yeah, because you watch Arrow and you're like, damn, this man is buff. I wish I could look like this. And he's standing next to Neville. You're like, oh, yeah. I think you need to hit the gym, sir.
The way that he hopped over that guardrail and right over to the stairs and hopped over the ropes, I don't watch Arrow, but I was like, holy jeez, this guy's an actor, and I know he's a superhero, but he is really smooth. I was really impressed just on his debut.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
He was American Ninja Warrior, and he finished the first 2 courses.
Wow.
Yeah, he's super athletic. I think he does some parkour. He's ridiculous, and from all accounts, he's a super nice guy.
And he's super attractive.
Yeah, he's a
I have a picture I've posted where I met him at a Comic-Con, and I was just like, yeah, you're an attractive man. That's all I can say to him.
Man, so one of the worst, I will say, is when there was a basketball player who came on WCW. Carl, was that the one when he was he the one who did the hip toss and Tony Schiavone lost his mind? Like, it was the best move ever. Oh God.
Yes.
Oh my God, it was so bad. And that was a moment where it was like, yep, wrestling looks real stupid right now.
Karl Malone, even DDP said he put into the work, and it was funny because Dennis Rodman, they always said he wouldn't do the work and all that stuff, but he was more of a natural, charismatic. He was more built for wrestling than Karl Malone ever would have been.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on in this card, we've got the unification match of the Impact and Wrestling Knockouts Championship and the Global Force Wrestling Women's Championship. Rosemary representing Impact and Sienna with the GFW Gold. I have no idea. What do you guys thoughts?
Rosemary, she does the Red Wedding, which is the F5, and she has been undefeated for over 6 months. Sienna, she is the classy lady. She puts up her pinky because, she has class. And she won the GFW championship about a month ago. They pretty much set it up for this match. I'm going to go with Rosemary. It could go either way, though, just based on the storyline.
Just give me a quarter and I'll flip it.
All right, well, next up we have a strap match. I'm not sure which kind of strap match because I've seen a few lately, but EC3 taking on James Storm. In that video package I talked about earlier, EC3 really talked this up of getting rid of the old guard of TNA, of Impact, and James Storm, I think, really does represent that. So I think EC3 is going over.
EC3, my favorite non-WWE wrestler. So I'm hoping he goes over. But James Storm did sign a 2-year deal and pretty much said, I'm not going to he got offered a contract by NXT. He turned it down to stay with Impact Wrestling, or I keep calling it like 19 different names. Jeff Jarrett and him. I mean, he's one of Jeff Jarrett's boys. He's one of his originals. So in a strap match, I think James Storm's going to go over because EC3's been pretty much getting a better part of this rivalry.
Does this conclude the rivalry?
I'm hoping so, because, I'm just hoping so. EC3, as much as I love him, he's not that great in the ring. So this match for him will be right up his alley. So I think that should go ahead and wrap up the rivalry, and hopefully he moves on to someone else.
Yeah, I saw one of his matches. I forget who he was going against. Was when he was still undefeated and still the champion, and it sucked. I mean, he was bad. He's not very good. I mean, even though I like him and he's a great promo guy, he's one of those guys that I've said I would like him to take on more of a wrestling manager role, where he's a wrestler but he has a stable of people with him, and he's more about getting them over than getting himself over, because I mean, he's not good in the ring. That would be so almost like he could take the Triple H role in Evolution without being the champion, kind of thing. Yeah,
I always go back to like the Roddy Piper. He would always have his guys that, I mean, he would go after Hogan, but he would also have his guys that he was trying to help soften them up or whatever, and he would take on that more of a managerial role.
Yeah, good call. Any thoughts on this one, Daniel?
Sorry about your damn luck, EC3. You're not going to open it.
All right, next up we have what is sure to be a match of the night, with just stacked with super workers. This is a tag team match. Jeremy Borash and Joseph Park taking on Josh Matthews and Scott Steiner. What the hell?
Let me tell you.
Hold on. Don't step on my laugh, because my God. All right. Let's go, guys.
Floyd.
You had a limited, unfortunately, when you were transitioning, you had a limited amount of people on the roster. So they didn't know who was going to be on the roster. So they built this storyline because they wanted to use 2 non-wrestlers. And it was supposed to end with Borash, backing Joseph Park, and from what I understand. And then Josh Matthews backing Scott Steiner. And they were going to do all the work, but, they were going to be outside. And the biggest problem I have with this feud, I don't have much of a problem with the feud, because I think they do a really good well, and Josh Matthews as the heel. I think it's a better version of the Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler thing. The whole thing is that
what would be worse? Good Lord.
There is no stipulation on the match. The match truly means nothing. There's not whoever wins is the new head of the announce team and the other person has to go. There is no, somebody has to wear a diaper for the day. There's just it's just a regular match. There's nothing really to be gained from this match.
Yeah, well, there is something to be gained. It's all the people in Orlando can go take a piss.
Yeah, that's true.
Because,
I think Steiner has a 222% chance to win this match, because Joseph Park, he had a chance to run. He couldn't run because he's a badass. He's got to be picking splinters out of his badass all night long. It's all said and done. The genetic freak is going to win because he's not normal. God damn, I can't even get through a Steiner promo.
Oh my God. Am I the only one here who really, I think Steiner was best before Big Papa Pump, when it was him and Rick, and they were the Steiner brothers, and they were just these, well, he was jacked to the gills on roids galore. They were like American Alpha, but roided up and mean.
Well,
I loved him. I absolutely loved him back then. I thought the headgear for Rick was pretty great, but how can you compare that Scotty with the Scotty that we have now? It's just incredible how crazy one man can become.
Yeah, he had 2 great careers. I mean, he had the the tag team career, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. They will always be in my top 5. And then he had a singles career that was, if you want to use a word, memorable.
Yes.
That's a word for it.
People remember it.
That they do. Holler if you hear me.
Use your hookup.
Yeah. And then we have got the main event, the unification match for the Impact World Championship and the GFW Global Championship. Lashley, the Impact Champion, with King Mo in his corner, taking on Alberto El Patron, the GFW Champion, with Don Caris, some dude.
No, Dos Caras.
Thank
That's
you.
his dad.
Oh, okay, my bad. With Daddy Patron, Daddy Del Rio in the corner. Paige probably nowhere to be seen, but that's another story.
Well, they break up.
It's here on the internet.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can see all of her, and then some.
More than you ever planned on you seeing on the internet.
Yeah, more than many of us probably want to see, but.
Yeah, I mean, I am a straight male, so I definitely wanted to see it.
Didn't you just call what's his face really, really attractive Stephen Amell?
Oh yeah, and I also think The Rock is like one of the sexiest men alive. But I am straight because we live in a world now. We live in a world now where I can say that, and then it doesn't automatically mean I'm gay because I don't want to have sex with either one of them.
Hey, it's all right. It's all right. After the Super Bowl, I said that Tom Brady could treat my mouth like a pussy. So there we go.
Oh my! I remember back 15, 20 years ago, saying things like, such and such dude was a good looking guy, and people would look at me crazy. And one of the best things, and you can't do this anymore because it really is horribly offensive. But I had a gay alter ego who was very flamboyant. And the best thing to do in the world was to walk up to homophobic guys and go into that character and just like slowly caress their shoulder and be like, "Oh, honey, it's okay," and would just watch them freak out. It was hysterical. Floyd, with some former coworkers of ours at the Sprint, got that action and they lost their minds. It was hilarious. But just in Floyd's defense, I had a good friend that at Sprint who was a lesbian, who one time mentioned that this guy was really good looking, and someone looked at her like, but you're gay," and she goes, "Look, I don't drive a truck either, but I can tell you when a good looking one goes by me."
Good call.
And that's what I'm like. And you know what? I have 8 sisters, so it's just I've been hearing men are attractive my whole life. So you begin to look and you can see what people find other people attractive, and and you have a guy that you just stare at. And it's just like, dude, you're a beautiful human being. Stephen Amell, one of those people.
And
stupid, sexy Seth Rollins. Good Lord, look at the guy.
CrossFit Jesus there.
Every time Finn Balor's about to go into the ring, the camera goes right by his junk, and I can't help but stare because, my God, that's an attractive man.
But yeah, and with Stephen Amell, he's on the CW, and they do not hire unattractive people.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And, I think the WWE's missing out on the real sex symbol they have right now, Kevin Owens.
Oh, man. There are ladies that find the Kevin Owens very attractive.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm like, when you're at a show and Finn Balor comes out, babies are made.
The Rock babies. Rock babies. Now
wear rain boots.
Yeah, they're Balor babies now. They're being made. Prince Devitt's out there all around the world. So Lashley and El Patron.
I mean, either one is a horrible face of the organization. You're trying to build this new organization. You got Bobby Lashley. He's got the look. He can work all right, but good Lord, put a mic in his hand and he sounds like he is handy capable. So then you have Alberto El Patron, which the wrestling world in general, fans in the wrestling world in general, hate him.
Well, Del Rio
and he's the face.
He's boring.
Yes.
I mean, he can have a good match if he cares. And
Yeah.
but that's
Only
the
thing he does the CCC thing, and everybody. If you come up with a word, people will chant it.
yeah, that's true.
Down and say fart, 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 and people chant it because you have a word, and that's the most entertaining thing. And he's going CCC, and he thinks he's over. I'm just like, you just said the Spanish word of yes. You just
look at Tozawa. He just barks at people.
Yeah, but Tozawa's awesome.
Oh yeah, but still, that's all you had to do to get over.
Yeah, it's like you do something repetitive and people love it. It's pretty much what rap music is these days. So I just think, as far as the face of your organization, to me, I would have this match would have probably been Eli Drake versus Moose, just because I would want the face to be someone new, someone that I associated with Global Force Wrestling, not two WWE washouts.
Yeah, and not two guys who can't draw for shit.
Yeah, I'm not. If you could tell me Lashley was down the street at Cricket, just hanging out, and I wouldn't move.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely agree. I've never been a fan of Del Rio's. He's always just he's always seemed like he's gotten a much bigger push way quicker than he's ever deserved in anywhere he's gone. And since he is a former WWE champion and world heavyweight champion, anywhere he goes, he's going to get that push now, because it's going to be like hey, remember this guy? Well, we got him now, and he was a huge thing there, so now he's a huge thing here. Watch him face this other guy who was a huge thing somewhere else, and let's just all watch the huge, boring wrestlers go at it. Lashley has become a much better worker than he was in his time in WWE, but still, like Floyd said, there is nothing drawing to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't even plan on watching it tonight. I'm going to watch it sometime this week before Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I probably won't watch it tonight either.
Yeah.
But it's...
That's why I wasn't even like, Ray, we're going to do a review show tomorrow. No, we're not. No.
Y'all can do a review show.
No, I have no desire to talk about, because there is not one match on this card I'm excited for. Not one.
I'm curious.
I'm like, I can watch an organization I've never seen and find one match that I'm interested in. There is not one match on this show that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm curious more than anything else, and yeah, I have no idea who's going to win. I think it's probably going to be Patron. For some reason, maybe he's also a great snake oil salesman, but for some reason, everywhere he goes, people see money with this guy, and I don't know if it's just because Vince saw money with him. Because you look, when he left WWE the first time, and he went to AAA, within like a month, he's the AAA Grand Champion. And he was the AAA Grand Champion until he showed back up in WWE and beat John Cena for the U.S. Championship. And they had to strip him of the belt because WWE, even though they're like, yeah, we'll let him go defend it, they were like, at the last minute, they go, no, you can't. Sorry. Because, they're dicks. So, yeah, I don't understand.
From what I understand, he's a pro's pro. His family's been in the business. Mil Mascaras is his uncle. So he's, he knows how, he does know how to work. He doesn't, I've never had a match that he blew me away on. So it's just, that's what it is. It's just like, the one thing that really differentiated Impact from the beginning was the work rate. You had the AJs and the Daniels and the Kazarians and the Samoa Joes, and their work rate was just amazing. And it's just, TNA is, that's all I got.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who's going to win this match, but I can tell you who's going to lose, and it's going to be the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a TNA VIP experience, and they put up video. I don't know why, because it looks like only 10 people paid for the VIP. It was just like you had wrestlers just sitting there with no one in their line. It was just like just looking like, oh my god,
just a table full of Virgils.
Yeah, yep. This is where wrestling goes to die.
Well, speaking of a place that is not dying with wrestling, another big event going on this weekend. New Japan Pro Wrestling is having their first set of shows in the United States. They're in Long Beach, California, and the first one was last night. It is a G1 special set of shows, and they're having a tournament to crown the IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion first time. Also, there is... last night we had a match, and I don't know who won. I'm going to have to go look it up as we're talking about this. Cody challenging Okada for the IWGP Championship, and then tonight during the next set, who the fuck booked this? I don't know. Billy Gunn is challenging Tanahashi for the IWGP Intercontinental title. Really? I mean, sir, I just, yeah.
Well, as far as last night, Okada won, and apparently it caused a rift between, which they're building to, is with Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega, and then Omega has a title shot tonight, so a lot of people think Rhodes is going to cost Omega the match tonight. As far as the Billy Gunn thing, it's an American name that people know. He has a great relationship with New Japan. He still looks good. He still can move. He's still a good worker. I mean, then I was like, Billy Gunn looks better at 50 than most of us do in our 20s, and I'm pretty sure some performance enhancement has something to do with that. But hey, you know what you're willing to do? You don't gain muscle at 50. That's just science.
So here's the semifinals, which are going to be tonight. Kenny Omega will take on Jay Lethal, and Zack Sabre Jr. is going to take on Tomohiro Ishii. And I'm not sure who's going to be in the finals, but I'm going to have to watch that Kenny Omega Jay Lethal match. That should be awesome. I could see it coming down to, here's what I think is going to happen. Kenny's going to beat Jay Lethal. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to beat Ishii. And in the finals, Cody Rhodes is going to cost Kenny Omega the match. Zack Sabre Jr. will be the first IWGP United States champion because he's from England.
Yeah, what is it, Zachy J 4 belts or something like that?
Yeah, he's collecting titles.
So. Yeah. I think Tanahashi was the one that was going to throw the belt away, right?
No, he wanted to throw the IC belt away.
No, during this one, I saw it last night on Twitter. So yeah, he's the guy that wants to throw belts away. He said he wanted to win the U.S. title and throw it away.
Well, I'm kind of surprised Naito didn't get further in the tournament. But.
So, I'm going to go with, I feel like, TNA and, not TNA, ROH and New Japan have this kind of working relationship, since right now Kushida is the television champion. I think they're going to give the ROH belt to Jay Lethal.
I could see either Omega, Lethal, or Sabre are walking away with it. I think. Well, how about you, Daniel? You a New Japan fan?
I follow it. Yeah, I mean, insofar as I read spoilers for night one, I was really excited about it. As far as like a lot of the wrestlers go, unless they're guys from Ring of Honor or Kenny Omega, stuff like that, I don't follow too hard. I know the guys, and I know that I feel bad for Zack Sabre Jr. having to wrestle Ishii, because that guy, I've seen a couple of his matches, and it just looks like pure pain wrestling, this guy. So I'm thinking Ishii, and then on the other side, it's a tough call. I want to say Kenny Omega, but that really screws up my other thing. I think this could be used to advance Omega's other storyline, some sort of weird distraction within the Bullet Club. So I'd pick Jay Lethal.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, and you're right. Ishii is a scary motherfucker. When we did our top 5 list of guys who we could think would legitimately kill you, he was on my list pretty high, if I remember correctly. That dude, yeah, I'm looking at a picture of him now. Terrifying. Because this also leads into the G1 tournament, and I don't quite understand the mechanics of New Japan tournaments because it's a point system, and they're complicated, and everyone in every block fights each other, and Omega and Okada are in the same block, and so they're during the semifinals or whatever, they're going to headline one of the Sumo Hall shows, so putting in the third match of their feud, which I think Omega's probably going to win. But there's a lot of talk with the people who really follow New Japan that they're building toward a Naito and Omega at the Dome next year, which is, that's definitely a big money match. I would rather them go Omega, Okada, but oh well. So that means Naito is going to be the one probably to win the G1. But there's also there's some other really, really good people in that tournament, and some potentially great matches. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Juice Robinson's going to be in it. I like him. I hated him in NXT. I just thought he was stupid, and everything I've seen from him in New Japan has been awesome. So I will probably be watching this stuff this weekend. So because I've got a 3-day weekend. Go me. So yay.
We don't get access here on Cox Cable, so everything I have to do, I have to stream online. So yeah. I will watch it at some point this week.
Exactly. All right, well, that is that. What was our next topic? Let's go ahead and talk a little WWE. So before we get into the week of WWE TV, there was a thing on Cage Side Seats, their rumor roundup, I think it was on yesterday's, where they mentioned how there's been a lot of crossover of brands at house shows. Like Seth Rollins, for example, challenged against Jinder Mahal for the WWF or WWE title recently. And apparently that's going to happen more often. So this makes me wonder, is the brand split already done?
No. From what I understand, because of course after you brought this up I was able to do a little bit more research on it, is that most of these crossover matches are happening in other countries. And that's so they can see everyone.
Okay, well, if that's the case, if it's just, hey, we're in wherever the Fuckistan, we're going to put two of our biggest names, who cares which brand they're on, that's reasonable. I'm just thinking if it's fucking Dayton, Ohio, and you've got, a headliner from Raw facing a headliner from SmackDown, what's the point?
Yeah, and no, that is why certain people haven't been on TV the last couple of weeks. It's just they're all in they're doing Japan last night, or it may have been the night before last. Japanese time kind of throws me off sometimes, but they had Asuka versus Alexa Bliss, champion versus champion.
Oh, I bet that was pretty good.
Yeah, so even the NXT stars that are Japanese, and then, they're just trying to give the best show that they can. Jinder Mahal wrestled Seth Rollins for the title, but that was in Sweden. So it looks like when they're on American soil, it is pretty much the brand split. But they're in other countries, it's just a way that, because, they don't really care, Raw versus SmackDown, they just want to see their favorite wrestlers, that they get a lot of mixing of brands. They want the big star names on there like Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose.
And I think that's pretty fair, too. I think for international viewers, it should be, WWE as a company and not, Raw or SmackDown going, because, they only do a couple of these tours a year. It's not like, Floyd goes to, WrestleManias, pay-per-views, any show that is anywhere near, and a lot that aren't, across the oceans, they're not afforded that luxury. So I think it's totally okay to keep the brands separate in North America and then combined to give the fans really the best show that they can get.
Yeah, that sounds, because at first when I saw that, there was not anything extra to it. It just said there's going to be more crossover of brands at house shows. And
my knee-jerk reaction is they're going to kill the wrestlers. And you remember I even messaged you on that when I first saw it. So they're not going to be happy that people are working 300 days a year.
Yeah.
You know, I go ahead.
No, I just had to look into it more. It was because it was just so crazy to me that they would do that.
You know, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but one of the highlight matches in Singapore was Jericho versus Itami at Sumo Hall.
Oh, really? I know Jericho and Balor wrestled in Tokyo, so even Jericho's doing the international stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
Jericho, he had a really neat Instagram post where he said it was his 50th time wrestling at Sumo Hall. It's his 50th time back there. And the first match, he was describing how he was outside this hall right where he was, discussing his match at I think it was the G1, but I'm really not even sure. It was so long ago and it's Japan, so I get confused. But he was going over his match with Chris Benoit outside those doors, and he had no hesitation about mentioning his name in the wrestling sense.
Yeah, that would probably have been one of the best of Super Juniors tournaments, because there was this famed best of Super Juniors, I think it was 94-ish, that had Benoit, Jericho, Malenko, Guerrero, Jushin Thunder Liger. Just like the cards were ridiculous. It was like some of the best wrestlers of all time were in that. But yeah, okay, so my fears have been dissuaded. So let's talk a little bit about what happened on TV this week. Now, this hold on to your pants there, Floyd. I actually watched all of Raw and all of SmackDown and all of NXT.
And Floyd, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I didn't catch all of any of the shows.
Let me just say this. I very rarely do this because we kind of go in the order of the shows. But because this match was so amazing, I feel like the first thing we should talk about, and I'm all about the Women's Revolution, was that freaking Asuka versus Nikki Cross match.
Okay, yeah, let's jump right into NXT. So, which was, of the three shows, and shocker, it was the best one. Ooh, who would have thought that? First of all, Mauro Ranallo on commentary. He and Nigel McGuinness have a great chemistry, and then Percy's there, and he's unoffensive at this point.
I mean, I know WWE is set on kind of the three-man commentating group. I would like Percy Watkins to go away.
Agreed.
I mean, for real, he just kind of took away from the chemistry that Nigel and Mauro had, even though I think Mauro has chemistry with whoever's doing color for him. He's just so good at focusing on calling the wrestling and letting the color guy come up with the opinions.
Yeah, good call. But before we get to the awesome match, a couple other things, just a couple of thoughts that I had on this show. Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, is actually getting some nice reactions. When his music hit, he got a nice little pop. This was probably the first show of a taping, because this crowd was really hot, and you can tell, as you watch NXT shows, by the fourth episode from the tapings, you can tell the crowd's tired. But this crowd was hopping. And so, yeah, he did his thing, put his crotch in some dude's face when he pinned him. It was what it is. He's good at that character. I'll give him credit.
Yeah, and he's only 21 years old. He started wrestling when he was 18. Already has been on NXT. Not NXT. What was the show called?
Tough Enough. Yeah.
Tough Enough. So he was on Tough Enough. Most people believed he should have won that show, but just because passion, wrestling knowledge, and actual in-ring ability, he was so much ahead of everyone else. And then he's come along. The experience has worked out. I mean, you got Michael Jackson on SmackDown, so you got to have Prince on NXT.
I'm really happy for Patrick Clark because, like you said, on his season of Tough Enough, he was the only person there who actually gave a fuck about wrestling. It wasn't just like an MMA guy who's, trying to transition into something else, or fucking ZZ, the god, that dude. I am so glad he's gone. I never saw his appeal. He's just so friggin' bad. And Patrick Clark, I remember there's one episode. It was right after the Beast in the East special. Patrick Clark was the only person that woke up to watch that show live on the WWE Network, and Stone Cold was pissed at everyone. And even whenever Patrick Clark got kicked off the show, there were people that were really, really upset about that move. So seeing him come back to NXT, and I knew he was going to go on the Indies and season himself a bit, I am really excited for this kid's career.
Yeah, I did not watch another episode after he got off. He got kicked off the show. I just thought it was a horrible move. It was during Hulk Hogan was the person that pretty much had a problem with him, and he just, loud and vocal.
Imagine that, Floyd.
Hey, let me just say this. Virgil loves Hulk Hogan, and Virgil says Hulk Hogan's the greatest guy ever, and Hulk Hogan wasn't ever racist to him.
And Virgil also loves fuck money and breadsticks and meat sauce at Olive Garden.
Hey, man, Olive Garden has great breadsticks. Come on now.
I'm going to say, don't be dissing on Olive Garden, dude.
And their salads are on point.
When you're there, you're family, okay?
Oh, my God. Yeah, so here's the thing, I think, with this. One cool thing is down the road, you have the potential for him to, at some point, basically he can shed the Velveteen Dream gimmick, and he could cut a blistering promo about the guys in the back made me do this, and I did it better than anyone thought I could because I'm that damn good. And he could cut that kind of promo and just become at some point Patrick Clark. And so yeah.
The thing with him is that when he's doing the character and he's doing the elbow, he's selling out for it.
Yeah, there you go.
I can't stand the character. I absolutely hate it. I've always hated it when they did it, when Orlando Jordan did it, and when anyone does it. I always hate the flamboyant characters, except Goldust. I think he does it better than anyone has ever done it. He's my number one. I know people come back to adorable Adrian Adonis kind of before my time. It was like at the beginning of my life, so I didn't really appreciate the character. But the character he's playing is like, to me, I would have thought, why would you saddle somebody with this character? And he's really pushing it. And if it was late 90s WWE, it would probably have went a lot further than it has.
Oh yeah, can you imagine had this match happened in like 1999 instead of just when he did that pin and he's literally got his crotch on the other dude's face, he would have been grinding. It would have been full-on grind your junk into some poor fool's face. Maybe they like it. I'm not judging. I don't care. But yeah, it would.
Dave, you're right. It would have been really, really hot. But Floyd, I got to ask you a question. How do you feel about Dalton Castle?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love Dalton Castle. I'm sorry.
All right.
Well, I was thinking of people that haven't in the WWE. That's what I was really going on with. But Dalton Castle, oh my God, he does the character world, and even though he's flamboyant, he doesn't cross the line as coming off, to me, gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's wrong with being gay?
There's nothing wrong with being gay if you're gay.
No, he comes off as so ambiguous that it's not offensive, and it's just really hilarious. And he has the talent to back up too. Yeah. It doesn't matter like what he is or isn't. You just see this guy and you want to just hate his guts because you know that he thinks he is so much better than everyone else in that ring. And he's right for the most part. And the way that he can look the way that he does and dress the way he does and have his boys out there with him and still kick ass, it just gets him over even harder.
I think he has done this type of gimmick better than anyone else ever has that I've seen. Now, obviously, I did not see Gorgeous George because I was not alive, and I don't think there's much footage of him. But the flamboyant, possibly gay character, I think he has done. Dalton Castle has done that better than anyone has ever done it before because he's done his own twist on it. And he's not just, trying to get up in people's face and make out with them like Gold Dust would, or, do all this really homoerotic stuff. He just comes out, he's flamboyant, his wrists at times are a little limp, and he has his boys, which he talks about in a slightly effeminate way, but he gets in the ring and he has one of the best German suplexes in the business. He is deceptively strong, and he's an outstanding wrestler. And honestly, I want him to be the guy to beat Cody Rhodes for the Ring of Honor title.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm very glad he stayed in Ring of Honor because WWE would screw him up 10,000 times. It would be bad. So enough of the Velveteen Dream. Then, so this is. Oh man, so Oney Lorcan comes out, and okay, first of all, I hate that name. I love Oney Lorcan. Why he couldn't have just been Biff Busick? Why he couldn't have been Biff Lorcan? And I know Floyd has defended some of these names before, and I give you props for that, Floyd. But I'm like, what the fuck is an Oney Lorcan?
I don't know what an Oney Lorcan is. I've tried to. Only thing I know is he picked the name. That's the whole thing. With the WWE, it's not it used to be a random name generator. Now they say, hey, give us a few names, we'll run it past legal. He picked Oney Lorcan.
Yeah, I wonder though how much of that was that on his list or was that from a list that they gave him?
From what I understand, from the last I'd say 10 wrestlers I've said they give a list of the names and then they say, hey, we can make this work, or you can't make this work.
Yeah, well, I wish he'd gone with something else. Yeah, but
the name to me, it just sounds like he dropped a bunch of pebbles onto his keyboard, and that's what came out.
But if they would let him explain it, he is over in the Full Sail crowd. He is a great wrestler, but we know nothing about this guy. Let's get him some video packages, unless all they did to sign him was to be a good hand, and they have no plans on doing anything with him, which would be a freaking shame. He needs some character development, and we need to know why he picked the name Oney Lorcan, because they've done it before. They did it with Finn Balor.
Hideo Tommy explained why he changed his name.
Exactly. So as long as, by God, they better not change Adam Cole's name, baby, because I need Adam Cole coming out, and also just for that moment, for his debut, they need to get Steve Corino to knock Percy Watson out for a while and sit on commentary and lose his shit when Adam Cole comes out. Because one of the things that made Adam Cole so entertaining was Steve Corino's absolute lust and love for the man. It was hysterical. So I need that to happen. I know it's not going to, but that would be incredible.
Is there any news on that signing, if it's gone down or what? Because it seems like that story just kind of fizzled, right when it was getting at its hottest, and I never heard any updates. I'm just curious.
Only thing I can know, I'm guessing it's probably some kind of legal situation where he either wants to keep his name or where he's going to wrestle, and it's probably like the different type of they're trying to get the details down of it. Because Adam Cole makes a lot of money between Ring of Honor, New Japan, and around the country just wrestling. He makes a lot of money. So the WWE, how they work, how people have worked is you're pretty much going to have to make it match what I'm making on the indies.
And he is a draw. Adam Cole is a draw. So no, I haven't heard anything, but on the Being the Elite, they did have a video that they put out where they were in a toy store, and it had Cody. He freaked out because he found an action figure of Stardust, and they focused in on Stardust, and he's like, "Oh my god, I have to get it!" And then he grabs the Roman Reigns action figure. It's hysterical because it's Cody, the Young Bucks, and Marty Scurll. And then he starts walking off. He stops. He comes back and he picks up an NXT belt. He goes, "I'm going to get this for Adam Cole. May he rest in peace." And then keep going. And it was so funny. So
That is-
yeah, so I think it's pretty much he will show up at some point, probably this summer at NXT. My guess is probably at the SummerSlam show, at Takeover Brooklyn 3, because that would be a good place to debut him. I'm just waiting for that moment when he walks out, and I really hope they do music kind of like his ROH music, because he had great ROH music that just fit him perfectly. And so yeah, if you can't tell, I'm a big Adam Cole fan. So I'm looking.
You know the CFOs are going to hijack that song really, really well.
Oh yeah. In fact, they just need to buy that song and CFO it. And because I love the thing, because the lyric, "I've got something for you." He's got these hand gestures he does as he's walking down to the ring, and he's just, yeah. I mean, Adam Cole, love you, man. Can't wait to. And part of me is almost kind of sad that he didn't stick around Ring of Honor, but there's nothing else he could do in Ring of Honor. What are they going to do? Put the belt on him a fourth time? That's not going to happen. So, but anyway, back to. So, Oney Lorcan breaks Hideo Itami's nose in this match. That was awesome. I'm sure it sucked, actually. But
he wrestled.
Tommy's injured for the next 6 months again.
Well,
he wrestled a match with a tissue stuck up his nose.
Yeah. Tommy came back out, and it was because it basically just starts out, and out of nowhere, Lorcan hits him with a running uppercuts in the corner, and he's dazed, and then the medics come out, and Itami's nose is all fucked up, and the bell rings, and so Itami leaves, and Lorcan's just standing in the ring like, what? And you could tell this was not planned, because eventually Lorcan gets out of the ring and leaves. They did a Roderick Strong video package, and then Itami comes back out to the ring, and he's got, stuff shoved up his nose. And Lorcan comes out, and they have a just really hard-hitting match. Really good match, which Itami won. But, yeah, this was good stuff. I really liked it. And then there was a beatdown, because Itami called out Cassius Ohno, who comes out. I still wish they'd called him Chris Hero, but whatever. And there's some talking, and then they got beat up by Sanity, which leads into a match next week, or in 2 weeks, sometime. Sanity, Alexander Wolf, and Big Damo or Killian Dane against Itami and Ono. So that should be a good match.
Oh, you're all about the names, aren't you, sir?
I'm trying.
I'm like Kiro. Yeah, I don't have any problem with him changing his name because I like the Cassius Ono, and it goes with his gimmick. But, yeah, that was pretty cool. And Eric Young is away for some personal reason. I saw a bunch of people tweet to him, they wishing him the best and that kind of thing. So he was gone for some personal reason. So Alexander Wolf, that was who that was. And he cut a promo, and he actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
So, I got to tell you, I have one dream match, all right? It's Cassius Ohno, Kazuchika Okada, versus Kevin Owens and Kenny Omega for the Battle of the KOs.
Oh my God, that would be incredible. And that would probably never happen, because I don't think WWE could ever get Okada.
It's the strangest thing in wrestling right now is that there are 4 KOs and they're all super over.
Yep. And then you have the okay, well, one other, before we get to the main event, something I've really liked about NXT TV is the fact that they are doing a bunch of title matches just on television. Because there's a pretty decent break until the next TakeOver. They're not doing one until SummerSlam weekend. So they're actually making TV mean something, because next week Roderick Strong will be challenging Bobby Roode for the NXT Championship. And then, obviously, we had the last woman standing match, Nikki Cross challenging Asuka. Now, Daniel, did you see this match by any chance?
I saw the highlights of it, and my God, Asuka is just the best cotton candy-haired little psychopath. She is just absolutely fantastic, and she's been one of my favorite things in wrestling since she debuted.
Good call. Yeah, this match was brutal. There were a couple spots. There was a power bomb onto a bunch of chairs on the side of the ring. That was just sick. Asuka took that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought her head snapped and hit a chair. I was like, ooh, she's concussed. But apparently she wasn't, because she kept going.
In the end, I kind of wish it would have ended in a draw.
Thank you.
After the Okada and Omega match, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with it ended in a draw and continuing this storyline. I just wish that bump would have been so hard that they both, no one won. It wouldn't have been they both lost and no one won. And but this match was as about a hard hitting as any match I've seen, male or female. I mean, they were knocking the shit out of each other. I mean, good Lord.
And,
this was the last woman standing match that I would put up against any last man standing match. And there wasn't a hokey fish or the person tied the other person down. It was just them knocking the crap out of each other. And one person barely beating the 10 count. It was a great match. It was next level. I mean, we had the women's Money in the Bank, and we've had the women's elimination match, gauntlet match, and it's just you're gonna get to a point where you can stop putting woman in front of it. Quality.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just doing great matches, because that was just a great match. And after Charlotte and Sasha and Becky, where they did the great NXT Exodus, I didn't know if we were going to ever really, really see a great match from women in NXT again. And they proved me wrong.
And, after this match, again, I am more than convinced than ever. I think Nikki Cross needs to be the one. Unless it's one of the ladies that they bring over from Shimmer from Japan to beat Asuka. Nikki Cross, if they were going to have anyone from the current roster beat Asuka, it needs to be Nikki Cross. I know there's a lot of talk about Ember Moon, and Ember Moon's good, don't get me wrong. But Nikki Cross, I believe that she's crazy enough to be the one to beat her. And after this match where Asuka barely got up, I wish there had been a tiny bit more selling on her getting up, or it just ending in a draw, like you said, Floyd. I think that would have been better. But yeah, it was in this match, as the Money in the Bank matches, both of them were pretty good. They weren't terrible, but they were certainly better than some Money in the Bank matches have been. This match, of all of the kind of big historic matches of the last 6 months to a year that have happened in women's wrestling, this might have been the best one, because this was fantastic.
Right? Yeah, it was just a really great match on its own. I've always been of the opinion, and I'm sticking with my opinion, that Asuka shouldn't lose in NXT.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with her.
She goes to the WWE. Go to whichever brand you want to go to. I don't care which one, because I think they elevate whichever brand she's in, she elevates. Win the title, and then there'll be an NXT tournament to declare what would be the new face of the women of NXT.
And they could do that. They could have her. Depending on how they build up to SummerSlam, she could come out at SummerSlam, challenge one of the other women's champions, or she could come out and just say, you know what, there are two other women's champions here right now. I challenge one or both of you to come out and see if you can beat me. And then you could set it up that whoever the winner of the Mae Young Classic is becomes the NXT Women's Champion.
I like that angle a lot, and it's they've done things like that before, where whenever Paige debuted and AJ Lee, she was NXT champion at that time, and so she went back to NXT and she handed the title over to Regal, and she never lost it. So I don't see why they can't do something like that with Asuka and just keep on just pushing her, because she is so stinking talented. And I love the idea of the Mae Young Classic meaning something. That's what they need to get over. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic show and a fantastic tournament, but you just need stakes to any of these things. Right. And the Cruiserweight Classic had it. Even the Tag Team Tournament had it back a couple years ago on NXT. You need some sort of stakes to bring all these people over and make a new star right on the spot.
Exactly. And what they don't need to do is make a new women's championship for that tournament, because that would make 4, and that's too freaking many. So you need to just those people, the ones that stick around, need to go into NXT, and that needs to be either the winner gets a shot at Asuka at the NXT championship, or she vacates the belt because she wins one of the Raw or SmackDown belts, and the winner of the tournament gets that belt. That's the way it needs to go down.
Whenever Asuka leaves, I can see her getting the biggest send-off in NXT so far.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. All right, well, that was NXT for this week. Do we want to do Raw or SmackDown next?
I want to do Raw.
All right.
Raw, yeah, definitely Monday Night Raw. Raw's openings for the last 3 weeks have been impressive, to say the least. They have really gotten me into the show. This week was absolutely no different. You start with Roman Reigns coming out the ring, and then you got Braun Strowman doing what he does, whooping up on people.
That where Braun Strowman just hurled Roman Reigns into the ambulance was fantastic. You got to give Roman credit where credit is due. He is bumped like a madman for Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I don't even know if you saw that. That's what I put on our Twitter. It's like, you can say what you want about Roman Reigns, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions. I do not personally hate Roman Reigns. I've said that many times. I don't like how he's booked, but I don't hate him personally. The way he bumps and sells, he spends like 60% of the time in the WWE getting his shit beat out of him.
Now, Floyd, I gotta stop you right there, buddy. Okay, I have a different opinion. All right, of course, Roman Reigns can take all those hits and all that punishment from Braun Strowman. He's wearing body armor. All right, you can do anything. Look, D'Lo Brown had a career doing frog splashes with body armor. All right, Roman Reigns can get thrown off a cliff as long as he's cheating. And yes, I am calling it cheating, McMahon. He can do whatever he wants in that ring, and he's going to walk away fine. Get the body armor off and get your own look. Start looking like a wrestler and not like you were in SWAT 20 minutes ago, because we all know Stole the Shield's gimmick because you didn't have any ideas on your own after they all broke up.
I agree with that. Not as much the it preventing bumps from hurting, because I'm sure the way he was thrown into that ambulance still hurt like hell.
I'm kayfabing you, Dave.
I figured, cutting promos on the spot, it's impressive.
I'm working.
But he does need new gear, bad, really bad. But that, yeah. To me, I thought that there were 3 things on this Raw that there were basically 3 takeaways. One was the opening, and the just Braun throwing Roman around was fantastic. The other is everything with Samoa Joe, Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar. And then the other thing was Cass and Enzo. Those 3 were... everything else in the show was boring.
No, you got to add one thing in it, and it might just be my bias liking him. The whole Goldust thing was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But
the Golden Cameraman. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was memorable. Because, I don't really recap a lot before discussing on Sunday, because I feel like the best recap is going to be the stuff I'm still holding on to from last Monday. And I held on to that Goldust R-Truth segment.
There you go. See, I actually kind of forgot it was even there. But I will say that we have to talk about the Miz TV thing.
The miserable TV?
Holy fuck, that was one of the worst things I've ever watched. It was...
I've been waiting 2 hours to talk about this right now.
Let me say, though, I will say that it is really cool that here's his dad, who has connections, who got his kids on a WWE show, and it was definitely that dad definitely has a good relationship with kids. You can tell that. But sweet God, that was some of the most cringeworthy, painful stuff I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, we were talking about many different ways it can get better, and I'm gonna let you talk about this mostly, Dan. But if you've seen LeVar Ball on anything else, LeVar Ball looks out for LeVar Ball. You can give him all the notes. You can tell him you put this guy over. You can do anything you want to. In the end, when he gets there on a live mic, LeVar Ball is gonna put over LeVar Ball.
And meanwhile, whenever his young kid gets on a live mic, he drops the N-bomb a couple times on live TV. So we got that going for us, too.
I didn't notice that part, honestly.
It's only racist if you're not black.
No, that was just absolutely insane. I can't believe they did not have some kind of interaction with Titus O'Neil, since Titus O'Neil's character is basically LeVar Ball.
Oh, my God. He's a straight ripoff of LeVar Ball.
Yeah. And so, I know what you do. I agree, putting Miz out there because Miz can talk with anyone. But the whole thing just went so nuts. Why does LeVar Ball run so weird like that? With his arms out at his sides like that? And why did he take his shirt off and start doing kung fu moves? It was so. I felt really embarrassed for his kids there, just because we've all had our dads just do weird things, or Dad, stop it! You're embarrassing me in front of the Staples Center, And that's another thing is we can all point. I don't know how Alonzo Ball's career is going to go in the NBA, but despite what happens, if he becomes a superstar or just flames out, he will have debuted as a Laker for the first time in the Staples Center on Monday Night Raw.
That is amazing in itself. I give the WWE props for staying relevant. It's just there were so many better ways this could have been done. I said a backstage segment with Titus O'Neil where you can kind of control the product that comes out. And as far as the N-bomb getting dropped, the kid's not on TV. This is not what he does for a living, so he was just talking like he normally talks. And the mic happened to pick it up. How many N-bombs we probably don't get on football and basketball just because they got, really good editors. But so I did, it was one of those things. It's just because it's popular don't mean they're going to work with the show. You got to have people that, actually like and respect wrestling. In his ideas, the running funny and the karate or the kung fu type of thing he was trying to do there, that was wrestling to him. That in a nutshell, just in that moment, you saw what his idea of wrestling was.
So I think he's done a great job. Just for me personally, whenever he first came onto the scene, or even this year in college basketball, I absolutely hated him so much, and he has grown on me to the point where he is just kind of he is just a straight heel, and now he's it's like Kurt Angle. Whenever he came up and he was just a heel because he's arrogant and he didn't understand why people were booing him. But the more he did that, the more he got over. So now we know what to expect with LeVar Ball, and we know that it is a show, and it can be really entertaining whenever you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, so this does. You brought up an interesting point there, Floyd, where you said, or maybe Daniel might have even been you. God damn, my short-term memory. The point about this is what he thinks is wrestling. So which kind of takes me back to a previous segment where we had that dude from the Transformers movie who was on commentary during the Hardy's, Finn Balor, Drifter, Cesaro, Sheamus match. Which, who did Finn piss off to have to do something with Elias Sampson? It just the look of that just looks like, oh honey, you've been demoted. I mean, hopefully it's more to elevate the Drifter, but anyway, whoever that dude was on commentary, he sucked so bad, so it made me want to listen to Michael Cole.
Yeah, it was Josh Duhamel.
Yeah, and he obviously knew nothing about wrestling. He's doing a WWE film with Sheamus. So he's out there for that. He knows nothing about what's going on, and it was awful. And that combined with the point about this is what this dude thought was wrestling reminds me of something, again, I saw in Cage Side Seats, an editorial, which I haven't read in detail yet, but someone put up an editorial that basically said, look, guys, we have to realize, we have to all understand, wrestling's just not popular anymore. In the grand scheme of things, it is not popular. And these segments kind of show that we forget, because we live in this bubble of wrestling fandom. And yeah, thousands of people go to some of these events because there are a lot of wrestling fans, but in the greater scheme of things, wrestling isn't popular. But then in modern society, in the grand scheme, is there really anything anymore that is really blanketly popular to everyone? Maybe Game of Thrones?
NFL.
Well, yeah, fuck NFL. Anyway.
But I'm just saying, I mean, the NFL is the god of entertainment right now.
Yeah.
You pretty much, the NFL's making $13 billion a year. And then you put out any Marvel movie, it's going to make $1 billion. It doesn't matter what the character is. Superhero movies are over right now.
Yeah, but
they're universal.
So they're over, but are they really super popular in the mainstream? There are a lot of nerds.
If you say the word billion at the beginning of your earning, I think you're over.
Okay. I bet we could go on to Box Office Mojo or whoever and find that of the top 10 grossing films, I would guess that 7 of them are Marvel properties at this point, and then like Star Wars is the other one.
Yeah. So it's just like, I mean, that is universally liked. You are considered pretty much an outsider if you don't like superhero movies. You're considered like the guy that doesn't watch TV.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan?
He's like, I don't watch TV. Okay, cool.
Well, so let's talk about a couple other segments on here. Do you want to do Enzo Cass or the Samoa Joe stuff next?
Oh, man, the Samoa Joe stuff, because him and Paul Heyman's interactions are so hard-hitting. As far as when Paul's cutting that promo about him not being a real Samoan. And I know that, him and Joe have always been tight. Him and the other Samoans have always been tight. So I know this was clear, but he hammers it home so much that I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling like this is something Joe has to feel, and then this is it turned up to 100.
Oh yeah, I mean, can you imagine being you're 90% of the Samoans in the wrestling business are all from one fucking family. I mean, hell, let's take it even a further notch. Almost all of the Polynesian people in wrestling are related, because you've got the family that Roman Reigns and The Rock are from, who by hook or crook or marriage or whatever are related to the Snookas, are related to Haku. They're all fucking related somehow, except Samoa Joe, who's this guy over here is like, hi, I'm from California. And I can legitimately kill all of you.
Okay. I was going to say, that was a little high-pitched for Samoa Joe. I wouldn't let that get out, or else he's going to come knock at your door, Dave.
Well,
yeah. Yeah, it's like Samoa Joe reminds me of the guy in the 70s that you would use the word fake around and he'd slap the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Samoa Joe is just brute. And it's just like, he can be as nice as anything, but when he turns on that, like, intense type character that he turns on, he's about as believable as anybody. I believe he could beat up Brock Lesnar. I believe the fight could go either way. That's how much he is a badass.
I want to share this story. I was listening to the Masked Man podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they had a guy on, I think it's Steve Kazee, who has ruined Samoa Joe's music for me, and I love it so much, but he described it as the fat guy going back into the restaurant after he went through the fast lane and they forgot one of his burgers. So you just hear him open the door. It's bum, bum, bum. bum, bum. Like, oh shit, it's the pissed off Greek fat guy coming in.
That's messed up.
Oh. But it's hilarious. And it wasn't some of his music, wasn't it a little bit of a take off of his TNA music?
The beginning sounds almost identical to me.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And that's see, I like that they went with that consistency, something this guy is known for. So yeah.
He had the crappy version when it first came out.
Oh,
you know, it sounded all jungly and everything after the cool part. So it's taken a couple shots, but they got it right finally.
Yeah, and I remember, what was it, there was an event where they fucked up and they played that. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, this stuff when Joe is with Paul Heyman, that segment where he just popped up out of nowhere behind Paul and just like up caressing him and stuff. Oh, so creepy.
And he's like, yeah, this is not for you. And they just like, wow.
Something bad is going to happen to you now.
Yeah. And
Floyd was completely right a couple months ago whenever you described him as, you know, the big heavy in the mafia, where it's just like, hey, yeah, go talk to that guy. He'll get you what you need, and then he just beats the living shit out of you.
And you know what? Like I said, a lot of it is, you know, it's fun. It's cool with Joe, Wyatt, and Kevin Owens. I know they get thrown in the group a lot because they don't look like WWE guys, but you can still not look like a WWE guy and be a badass. And Samoa Joe is driving that home more than anybody. I think as a wrestling fan, you're actually scared for Brock Lesnar right now.
Oh yeah. I really hope Samoa Joe wins. I don't think he's going to, but
I will be in the building, and there will be a tear coming down my eyes if they actually do it.
All right, BW, I need you to pull a Barney and say challenge accepted, and let's make that happen.
Yeah. I think their next pay-per-view would be SummerSlam. So if this match doesn't end necessarily with a clear winner, and it leads into another match at SummerSlam, I'd be okay with that, because guess who's going to be at SummerSlam too?
Juice Robinson.
That would be so cool if he was there. But yeah.
Cole?
You know, you're Floyd and Savior.
Oh, okay. Michael? JBL? Michael?
I love it.
All right, well, let's... So then last on Raw, Cass and Enzo.
I was going to say, it's not going to be last, because we got to talk about one more match, but Cass and Enzo pulled the rare double turn. I honestly, I was talking about this in the club, that I can't remember when this happened, like off the top of my head, where he turns back face. Hey, I love you. We're best friends. And then he heel turns again, to the point where it seems like it shocked the crowd just as much.
It seems like something Kevin Owens would do.
Yeah.
Hey, let's begin. Just so I can beat you up again.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so brutal.
And Cass's expressions on his face, they were everything you wanted to be. He really sold it. I hope they get rid of this match next week, because I really don't want to see a long program between Enzo and Cass. It was very clear who the dominant one was in that group. So if you do anything, it should be a bunch of squash matches. So I would like Cass to move on, or if you're going to do any, because August is the end of Big Show's contract, you do a match between Big Show and Cass, where Cass just pretty much dominates the Big Show as Big Show retires.
That's perfect. Yep. Yeah. And then
this program to be extended, because Enzo, at best, is an average worker. At best, on a good day, he's average. So.
That being said, I'm still curious as to why they pulled the trigger on this now, because it's not like Enzo and Cass have ever really done anything, like accomplished anything as a tag team. And I have felt like it has been getting stale, but you break up that team, now that thickens up the main roster, the singles roster, and if they weren't able to accomplish anything as a tag team, then I can't see either one of them being believable going forward for a singles belt.
I'm saying Cass is much more believable as a singles person. I think Enzo is going to be almost like that Billy Gunn guy, where he's going to just find a new partner. Because the whole thing is, Enzo can change his little feel up to meet with anybody.
You know what? Hype Brothers. Get him with the Hype Brothers.
And you know what? That works too. I mean, he's a great hype man. He can do so much. So talented, not being in the ring, that there's a whole bunch of different ways you could go with Enzo.
Yeah, he needs to be a mouthpiece for somebody.
Yeah, I agree. If you want to throw him on 205 Live to add some personality show, yeah, definitely. That show is missing personality.
One thing, one other point in this, the part with where Cass came back out and confronted Corey Graves, I thought that was great.
Oh, yeah. He's like, somehow you got Kurt Angle, you best buds, because I was told I'd get fired if I touched you. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, plus, he's got a whole concussion thing, so...
The whole thing with Corey Graves, it wasn't like you take another bump and you'll die. It was just like, you're not going to be able to be a consistent wrestler. So the thing with Corey Graves, Corey Graves is, I could see just kind of as a shout out to him, just like, okay, we know your career ended. Maybe giving him one match, just be like, hey, just so you can say you wrestled on the main roster once.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to SmackDown.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, wait, you had something else, sorry.
First gauntlet match. We have to talk about it.
Oh, wait.
How long Nia Jax was in that fucking match. I mean, she's not the greatest worker in the world. And don't get me wrong. I mean, she can be good at times. She was in that match for 30 minutes, and she did not ever actually look blowed up. So it was great speaking to the shape. Everyone knows I'm a big Nia fan. She's so hot to me. So, the fact that she didn't blow up, she didn't end up killing anybody. Because when you get tired, you're careful when it comes to bumping for people. And it was a good match. And at the end, I don't know if either one of you saw the end, but Sasha has her tied up and kind of choking her out. I would have liked to see her pass out instead of tap out there. What do y'all think?
I agree. I think that would have been a better thing.
I think that protects her better. Yeah,
because it was a flat out choke. I mean, the bank statement, when done incorrectly, like it was in that match, she was just choking the shit out of Nia. So I was just like, hey, if she just passes out there, it makes it look much better to me.
Yeah, my big thoughts on this were I thought Nia was the obvious winner coming out of it. She looked fantastic. My other thing was they have really screwed the pooch on Bayley and are going to have to start over, maybe send her to SmackDown. I don't know what to do. And some of this match I would have liked better had some of the parts, been longer than a minute. Because a few of those, it was just super squash. And I know we're trying to make Nia look like this big beast, this unstoppable force, but come on, do you have to do that at the expense of Emma? I mean, sure, Dana Brooke, who cares? But Emma, really?
Yeah, Dana Brooke is hot garbage. So, yeah. But, I think the Emma match could have been longer. But, I saw what they were doing. They were saving time for Sasha because, she worked, and then she still had a 10 to 15 minute match with Sasha.
Yeah. No, and overall, I thought it was a good match. Overall, I enjoyed it. But, yeah, so, Daniel, you have anything else you want to add on this before we move on to the SmackDown?
Raw has been getting better, but, man, it is still a slog to get through at 3+ hours. I find myself just turning over to FXX and watch, some of the Simpsons marathon by about an hour, or if it's not the top of the hour, if I can tell it's just going to be a big, dumb segment of our ball, then, I typically go and watch The Simpsons. But that being said, it's getting better. The women's match was very impressive. I just hope that they're not just going to like drop everything, drop all this momentum after Great Balls of Fire. So we'll see, I guess. But as it stands, I'm tiptoeing back to Raw.
One thing that helped me this week is I watched most of these shows on double time speed.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that actually helped a lot because there was some stuff that I would have just flat straight skipped over, and I just sped it up, and it was much more enjoyable. And I slowed it down for the important stuff. I went back to regular speed for the stuff I knew that was going to be good, and everything else was on time and a half, double time, and I got out of there quick. So
hey guys, I know this is a little out of the area of this podcast, but breaking news. Thunder's Taj Gibson to Minnesota.
Yeah. Dave's like, huh? No.
Is that a big deal? Not to sound stupid.
Really.
It was like someone we would have liked to keep on the Thunder, but we really couldn't afford it, so
yeah.
Minnesota Timberwolves went ahead and signed him. It's not the greatest news ever, but we'll deal with it.
All right.
Yep.
All right. That's the kind of thing you hear breaking here on Around the Ring. Yes, basketball news. All right, well, SmackDown, I don't have a whole ton of notes from SmackDown. They were in San Diego. Daniel Bryan is still ridiculously super over. That crowd was in...
GM character, though.
Really?
He's such a heel! He made up rules on the go, stripping people of money in the banks. It's like... Oh, the hype bros. You earned the number one contender shot. You go away for 6 months. Why not just get a title shot? Why do you have to earn your title shot again that you already earned?
Because writers.
Hell.
Look, this company treats us like we have goldfish memories. All right, you're not going to bring up something like that from 6 months ago. We're supposed to forget every 3 weeks worth of wrestling.
I'm just saying Daniel Bryan is very much a heel GM right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like the fact that it's not being acknowledged.
And he's beloved for it. He is just... but, man, I tell you what, Carmella's promo during this was so good. And she kept bringing up all these logical points. She's like, it's a no disqualification match.
Yeah.
So my biggest takeaway from this was the whole point with Ellsworth getting taken off by the police. I couldn't help but think Bo Dallas did that so much better.
Yeah, he did.
One of the funniest segments I've ever seen in my life ever was that Bo Dallas getting taken out of Full Sail by the cops, and then the extra stuff that they put on YouTube. He talked about he touched my bum, and oh my god, it was incredible. So yeah, but I mean, James did a nice try. It wasn't as good.
I mean, when James Ellsworth first debuted, did you think he would ever be this over as a heel? I think he is just as responsible for getting Carmella over as a heel as anyone else. And he's very much a classic heel, and it's like you don't want to cheer for him. And I think he's doing a really, really good job.
Someone on Squared Circle pointed this out, that anything that they've asked Ellsworth to do, he's been fantastic at it. And I think the Redditor pointed this out. They believe it's to him running his own local promotion and having to do fill whatever role he needs to that night. He's got a ton of experience doing that, and it really shows. And you can tell the guy's just having the time of his life doing it too. So big ups to Ellsworth. I love the guy.
Yeah,
I will boo him out of respect.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I'm like, I rock my Ellsworth shirt, but when I go to his show, he's such a good heel that I'm not going to boo him because I don't like him. I'm going to boo him because that's how you show him respect. It's like saying you suck to Kurt Angle. It's respectful, and he's doing such a good job. And the shows and the New Day, wrap off. A couple of these days with the WWE were over.
They needed Bo Rida out there.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
No, but they're going to have a wrap off this week, and it's going to be hosted by Wale.
Well, okay. Wale legit loves wrestling, and he's not Flow Rida, so all right, we'll see what we got.
Yeah, he wants to be involved with wrestling so bad. He wants to be a week-to-week character. He's been trying to work out something for a very long time. So anytime they ask him to do something, no matter how stupid it is, he's definitely down to do it. The Usos, the thing about it is the Usos, like this week, they did a little flow, and it was actually pretty good. And so we're going to see what the New Day got. I just hate when they do the whole... They go back pretty... I think Kofi can rap. I'm not even just saying that because he happens to be black. I've seen other stuff on Up, Up, Down, Down where I think he actually can rap. So, I mean, it's going to come off cheesy no matter what because it's forced. But, hey, hopefully it's pretty decent.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So,
and we get Naomi and Lana again this week.
Yeah.
Right? Excited, right?
Do we have to?
Yeah. And you notice how you have the best wrestler in the world, AJ Styles, and he wasn't on the show wrestling again.
Yeah. What the hell? The only, really, honestly, the things that stood out to me other than Daniel Bryan was Fashion Vice was excellent. The Sweet Richard Simmons, I love that line. And then I thought the Money in the Bank match was really good. I will say, Shane at some point straight up forgot his lines because he just started repeating himself, and it was really bad. So that otherwise, this was one of the few times I think Raw was actually better than SmackDown this week.
I think at some point we're going to get Baron Corbin versus Shane McMahon.
Well, I could like that match. I could enjoy that.
Yeah, because
I will say this is that Baron Corbin has the coolest stage graphic whenever he's coming out, and just the ruined city just starts, the ink just starts flowing down and then following him down the ramp. It is awesome to watch Baron Corbin come out to that match. That's why I thought it was so huge whenever Baron Corbin interrupted Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance, which is number 2 on my favorite. So I didn't get to see either Baron or Shinsuke. That's mean. That's straight up heel Baron.
Yeah. Baron Corbin's thing, he has great presence. I really like his finishing move. He talks, and there's something about his voice that makes me immediately not take it seriously. I don't know if it's because he has a bit of a lisp, or what. It's just the way he phrases things and the way he uses words. It's just not menacing. It's like, I'm gonna hurt you real bad. It's just, I don't get it.
Indie wrestling is dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to Ring of Honor. So you never worked there.
Kevin Owens was on Talk Smack. If y'all get a chance to watch that, go back and watch it, because he was pretty much in rare form with Renee. He dropped her phone in the water, and he was just being an ass to her the whole time. It was kind of funny.
Stealing cups, tossing notebooks.
Yeah, it was funny. He's like, he's like, you call it the land of opportunity. He's like the land of gifts because you keep giving the same people chances. He's like, I've already beat AJ Styles. You just give him another chance, and it's hilarious.
So is it just me, or is that just a holdover where it's like they're not quite sure where they want to put these guys next, and they're like, oh, we'll just have them keep feuding? Because it just feels like a holdover.
I feel like SmackDown doesn't know where it wants to go, and I feel like it has a lot to do with the last-minute decision to put the belt on Jinder, because I think we're supposed to be doing a Randy Orton and AJ Styles feud right now, but we just have nowhere to go with it because it's like, okay, we got to finish this Jinder and Randy Orton thing first.
Plus, there's such a huge layoff for pay-per-views for SmackDown right now because I don't think they have. Do they have one in between Great Balls of Fire and SummerSlam?
I don't know.
I think Battleground.
They got a Battleground coming up? Well, still, it's a long layoff. So, I don't know, maybe at Battleground, if they have Battleground, maybe that'll resolve things. They're going to kick it into high gear going into SummerSlam. That, or it's just an escalation, and then they reset the board after SummerSlam. But it does feel like they're circling the wagons right now in the show.
But what do y'all think of my baby Carmella winning the Money in the Bank yet again?
I think that was the best. That was the right decision. Easily.
I think it's unnecessary. She won it the first time.
I can agree with that statement. But now she can label herself the first two-time winner of the Money in the Bank. Woman to win it twice. I don't know when she'll cash it in, but it has to be in the most despicable way possible. And I think it has to be against Naomi because she is the person that everyone just loves the most.
Yeah. I'm with Daniel. I don't think they should have had a second match, but they did. It was actually good, and her winning was the right move to go. And just so you guys know, yes, Battleground, July 23rd. Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton is the main event in good old Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
In a
Punjabi death match.
Oh, yeah, they're bringing that thing out again.
You know what? Even the first time, I thought it looked really cool. I actually don't even remember the match, so that should tell you how memorable it is.
I think it was Taker versus Big Show, I believe, because Cully had elevated liver enzymes, so he couldn't even participate in this big match that they made for him.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the match, honestly.
Well, so just in case you guys are curious, here's what the rest of the pay-per-view schedule so far looks like. Battleground is July 23rd. SummerSlam is August 20th. No Mercy, which is apparently a Raw pay-per-view, is September 24th. TLC, also a Raw pay-per-view, is October 22nd. And then Survivor Series down in Houston is November 19th. So there's going to be at least one or two, probably two SmackDown shows in there. And then you've got whatever the December pay-per-views are going to be. So this is all subject to change, I'm sure, but that's what it's looking like so far. Okay, before we go on to our top 5 of the week, which I have no input in at all, because we're doing top 5 wrestling video games, this was a topic by Noel, who sent this to Floyd, and both he and I thought this was something just really good to ponder. It's almost philosophical. So, with the exception of Naomi, all champions right now in WWE, bless you, are heels. So, with that in mind, what does that say about WWE, and what does that say about America as a whole? I'll let you guys go first.
I was going to say, we're going to let the guest go first if he would like to start out on this. I think I have a long answer, so there you go.
Sure, I'll go for it. I don't know. For wrestling, it always seems like these things seem to go in cycles for me as far as heel and face champions. And I just think we're in a spot where we've written everybody, excluding Naomi, of course, into a heel championship. It made sense, despite what you say, for Jinder to win the match against Randy Orton because of outside help and everything like that. I'm not totally sure we can call Brock Lesnar a heel champion because right now Samoa Joe seems way more and menacing than Brock Lesnar. So I'm not even sure if I agree with what Noel is saying right there. It seems that Brock gets booked heel or face depending on who he's fighting and who has a well more defined character they're playing at that time. And we never see the guy, so he can change back and forth pretty easily. But I don't think it says anything so much about America or anything like that. I don't really understand where he's getting to on that. I think in 6 months, there's going to be, 6 face champions and 1 heel champion, because that's just how wrestling seems to ebb and flow with itself every now and then. And I just think that's where we're at right now.
All right, I can see that. So here are my thoughts. WWE, like a lot of art, I think tends to not only influence society but reflect society. And right now, to me, I think this is a bit of a reflection of what's going on in the world. I think there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, especially depending on your points of view. Shit's kind of bad right now. And the fact that we have WWE expressing that by having a whole bunch of jackass douchebags as champions is kind of is taking that rage and unease that people are feeling and giving voice to it. And I'm probably giving them way more credit than they deserve. But let me give you a different example. When Daniel Bryan was on his run and was never getting the chance he deserved, so we're talking 2013, 2014, to me, that really expressed a lot of what was going on in American society. Because you had the rich getting richer, you had these big corporations just ruling everything, and the little man, the little guy, trying his damnedest to stand up and saying, I don't have a voice in any of this. And Daniel Bryan was that voice. He was the everyman standing up against their boss, and not in a, hey, look at me, I'm Steve Austin, I'm going to drink a beer and flip you off and kick you in the nuts, in kind of a working class good guy, hey, I'm just trying to do my best here and I keep getting shafted kind of way. So to me, I thought that storyline was really kind of a reflection, and even if an unintended one, of society. I see that a little bit in what's currently going on, and again, I'm probably giving them more credit than they deserve. But it's, if nothing else, it's fitting that right now, with everything going on, that we have a whole bunch of heels and this one babyface champion who's trying her best, to go out there, and we all know that shoe's about to drop, and someone's going to take that belt away from her at any moment. And because I think most fans are like Naomi. They might not be a huge fan of her in ring or whatever, but I think most of us can kind of agree that she's probably a really good person, and we're glad that she's finally getting some recognition and some success, because she's been busting her ass, especially with a lot of dum-dums, for a long time, and it's nice to see her get recognition that she deserves. So it's in a way, it's very fitting that she is the one babyface out of all of these heels. And yeah, you can argue that is really Brock Lesnar a heel? Is Asuka a heel? They're just kind of do whatever they want. So they're more tweeners, but lean toward heel depending on who they're facing. So that's kind of my 2 cents. What do you got, Floyd?
All right. I think we're at the point in America, I agree with you on this part. Yeah, but I truly do think there's a direct correlation, as in wrestling, what we're missing right now, the reason wrestling is less popular, the reason that we need a hero. And that's what it is. Wrestling is basically saying directly, just like in America there are no heroes, in wrestling there are no heroes right now. There are no people to get behind. There are no super over faces. It's like, generally, when you go to a reaction ring, I can guarantee you Kevin Owens, who's pretty much despicable, is getting just as much of a face pop as someone like Roman Reigns that does pretty much everything by the book. John Cena gets booed half the time. He is Americana. He's Americana just personified. So he gets booed all the time. So what I think is, it's really more of a statement of America in wrestling, as in right now it's falling behind. It's falling behind the times as far as the evolutionary curve, which you have to with any product. Every product you have has to evolve. They don't know the type of hero that people today want. They don't know that millennials want. And it's just like, right now they're struggling with that. So right now they're putting the belt on all heel wrestlers, so they can try to build up these heroes and make them overly popular. Like when the New Day finally beats the Usos, the New Day, who in their own way they're kind of dicks most of the time, but they're super over their faces right now. So I don't think they know what fans in general want. So they're like, okay, so what the old wrestling formula is, you put the title belt in the heel's hand and always has a face chasing it, and you wait to see who the audience gets in this case. So in this particular case, we're like Donald Trump is a heel, and he's the leader of our country, and what we're looking for is a person in our country. We're looking for a person that's going to step up and be who we're looking for in America. And just like America really has no heroes right now, wrestling doesn't.
Wow. Well, I have nothing else to add. I couldn't agree more.
That was very good. Yeah. I got nothing. Floyd took it.
Yes. All right. That is why he is our Floyd and Savior, Floyd Johnson Jr. All right, so now you guys have come up with your top 5 favorite wrestling video games. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, do you have any honorable mentions?
Well, if I'm going to go first, I'd say my honorable mention was, I haven't played many of the newer WWE 2Ks, but the one with CM Punk, I forget which number it was absolutely fantastic. That's the latest one, but since I haven't played the newer ones, I can't tell you if they've gotten better or worse. That's the one that didn't make my list, unfortunately.
My honorable mentions goes WWE 2K series. I'm just calling all the 2Ks and lumping them together, and you can find those on PS4 or Xbox One. WWF WrestleMania, Nintendo. It was the first WWF Nintendo game. It was honestly not very good, but it was one of the first ones I had. They had Bam Bam Bigelow who did cartwheels. Of course, you couldn't beat Hulk Hogan, and he was the only person that could buy him Andre the Giant, which was kind of cool. And on Super Nintendo, this is a game that a lot of people might not have heard of. It was called Saturday Night Slam Masters. To tell you, it was very much a Japanese game, and it's a wrestling fighting style. Hagar from the Street Fighter series was actually a character on this game. You probably have to Google it to know about it, but I remember renting it quite a bit back in the day and really having a good time with it.
All right, so on to number 5. Daniel?
I'm going with a game that I think, it wasn't promoted very heavily, and I think it kind of went under the radar. I remember I bought it at a punt really cheap just for the heck of it, and really ended up enjoying playing through it. It's WWE All-Stars. The wrestlers look comically jacked. It's a really fun style of play with a really great actor. It's very arcade in its presentation, as opposed to the 2K series, which is more sim-based. But yeah, WWE All-Stars, if you have a chance to go check it out, yeah, go get it. Can't be that expensive at this point.
My number 5, speaking of arcade games, is WWF WrestleFest. I spent a lot of quarters on this game back in the day when it came to arcades. You could either put the tag team titles, and when you went for the tag team titles, at the end of the secret team that you could unlock that you played against was the Legion of Doom. And then they had a Royal Rumble game, and that's when you had Hogan, and you could beat up the guy and then get your finisher on. And yeah, Ultimate Warrior had Earthquake, Jake the Snake. It was a pretty fun game. My mom worked in a mall for the majority of my youth, and some days, there was one to watch me take to the mall. And, I wouldn't have any money. I'd walk around, and occasionally I'd find a quarter or something like that. And I would always put that quarter either in Tecmo Bowl or WWF WrestleFest.
I loved WrestleFest. It's one of the first wrestling games I remember. And exactly for that reason, too, just hanging out at Aladdin's Castle.
Yep.
Very nice. All right. And we're now on to number 4.
Number 4, I'm going with SmackDown Here Comes the Pain on PlayStation 2. It was really the first time they got a next-gen wrestling game right, and it set the bar for what they would go on to in the 2K series. It has a great roster, that really awesome, 2002, 2004 SmackDown roster, and it's just a blast to play. They really got everything right, and a lot of people revere this the best wrestling game of all time. I'm not one of them, of course. It's my number 4, but SmackDown Here Comes the Pain definitely had to be on my list.
It was not on my list, even though I did love that game, and they had this feature where you could create a wrestler and name her, and I think I named my finisher Ball Game.
Ball Game, Mago!
Yeah, because I think that's what I named it. It was a horrible name for a finisher, but it was just a really cool time back then, so that was a good game. My number 4, we got to go back to the classic NES, which you will realize my games are old. I think a couple of them came out in the late 90s, but they're old games. On the NES, there was a game with generic wrestlers. It was called Pro Wrestling, and it was one of my favorite games. They had like King Cobra and just these generic names, but they had real wrestling moves, real wrestling. Like you threw it to you could throw them to turnbuckle, you could jump off the top ropes. It was actually the game of the year, the computer game of the year in 1988, because I actually had to wiki it because I was trying to make sure I knew exactly what the game was called. But yeah, hours upon hours upon hours playing pro wrestling. Let me tell you, if you gave me a Nintendo and pro wrestling right now, you would not see me for about a day and a half.
I'll keep that in mind.
It's like, so if you ever try to get rid of me, that's
Now that's a deep pull, dude.
Yeah. I love that game.
All right.
Because I remember I went through it and beat the game with every character on the game.
Wow. With
every character. Because back then, again, I had a huge family, so we were broke. We only had 1 or 2 games at a time. So you only could go through Mario so many times. So you come up with creative ways to extend it. So it's like, hey, I beat the game with this guy. Well, now let me beat the game with this guy. Well, now let me beat the game with that guy. Yeah, so that game, I beat the game with every character on there.
Nice. All right. And we're up to number 3. Daniel?
This game is one of my absolute favorites. Obviously, it's number 3, but as far as arcade games go, is absolutely one of my favorites, and it's WrestleMania, the arcade game. It is so cheesy and campy and just ridiculous. I mean, it came out in the early 90s, so your roster consists of, HBK and Bulldog and Razor Ramon and Doink and Taker, and they would just, you walk around and you wrestle, but you wrestle in this really comical style where, like, Undertaker will, grab tombstones and break them over people's heads, or if you beat up Razor enough, blades start flying out of him, stuff like that. You can bite people with the British Bulldog. His head turns into a dog's head, for God's sakes. And it's just the most fun and the funniest wrestling game that I've ever come across. It was fantastic to play at Aladdin's Castle, and whenever it came on Super Nintendo, it was even more exciting to just spend a whole weekend going through that.
I remember when it came out on Super Nintendo, and I rented it, and I absolutely hated it.
Well, I loved it. So
hey, that's what the list is supposed to be. It was it's supposed to be what you like, and everything I'm putting on the list is basically my personal enjoyment to the game, how much I played it. So you are literally getting a list from how much I played each game in order.
All right.
Floyd's fun. Oh, yeah.
So 3, another Nintendo game, World Championship Wrestling, WCW. This game had Ric Flair, Mike Rotundo, Both Road Warriors were on it. It was like the first. It was a WCW game. And Dave, I would say you look up this because it would be very nostalgic for you if you never saw the game. It was a really cool game. They had a singles and a tag team. The tag team, when you went through that group, it was more of a round robin, and you would always have to. I think it was always the Road Warriors at the end also. But when you as a singles person, no matter who you went with, it was you played against a giant at the end. It was pretty much Andre the Giant, and the dude was 7 foot, and you couldn't like do pickup moves on him or anything because he was super strong. I remember the game. The thing that I remember most about the game is they had Michael Hayes, but the thing I remember most is the best person to play with, the easiest person to win the whole game was with Mike Rotundo.
That's weird.
He did this flying knee thing, and it was like one of the only things that hurt the big dude.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, Mike Rotunda has I think an underappreciated career. But so what's on tap for number 2?
Number 2 is one of Floyd's honorable mentions. Saturday Night Slam Masters. It was fantastic. Yeah. I was a huge side-scrolling beat-em-up game fan. Final Fight was one of the first games I just really loved in that style. So to have Capcom make a wrestling game like this and actually feature Mike Hagar in it and have it be that same style of, beat 'em up wrestling in a wrestling ring is fantastic. And the roster just was really colorful. You had, guys, I think his name was Scorpion or something like that, who was like a Rey Mysterio type character. You had the gigantic super heavyweight named Jumbo Flapjack. It's just a lot of stuff like that. And I still bring it up on my ROMs and play through a little bit of it every now and then today.
Nice. Very nice. Super Flapjack. I like that.
Jumbo Flapjack.
Even better. Jumbo.
Yeah. That name could get over today.
Ironically, it could, and because people would like it ironically. All right, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2. And number 2 and number 1 are very similar games, but I had to go with the different generations. It's WCW versus NWO Revenge on the Nintendo 64. Probably one of the best wrestling games I've ever played in my life. It was the first game. It had this really good logic. And Nintendo 64 had the trigger at the bottom, and that was your finisher trigger. But the best thing about it is you could have a finisher, and the other person could do a finisher, and you could reverse their finisher into your finisher. Diamond Dallas Page was amazing on that game because you could do the Diamond Cutter out of pretty much any position, and it was so cool. It was one of my best games. I guarantee you, if you put that game in right now, and I said the other one would be a day and a half, it would be like I would call in sick because I love that game so much. I'm like, after going over this list, I'm actually thinking about going to get a Nintendo 64.
Nice. Wow. All right. So we are up to the final, the number 1. Daniel?
Number 1, I mentioned SmackDown Here Comes the Pain at my number 4, and I said it really set the standard of video games going forward in that generation, the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 generation. And I think, without a doubt, this is my favorite wrestling game. It peaked to me. The whole series, what would become the 2K series, peaked with SmackDown versus Raw 2006. The controls were so tight, and the roster was so huge. You had such a great mix of characters that were going from that era of SmackDown, that 02 to 04. You had new wrestlers coming up. You had a ton of legends. But the thing that put it over the top for me, it was the first time that they introduced the general manager mode. And I played that more than actually playing the wrestling. Just going through and booking matches and writing storylines, it became just so addicting what you could put together. And you could have fun with it. You could just have hilarious matches where you know what, Rey Mysterio is going to wrestle in 5 Hell in a Cells this night, and just if he gets injured or not. Just you could do anything you wanted. And it became really challenging getting storylines, dealing with injuries and everything like that. So I have an appreciation for what they're able to do week by week on this show. But SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 on the PlayStation 2, by far my favorite wrestling video game.
All right, and my number one would be what I would consider the epic game or the number one game of the pre-next gen consoles or the old gen consoles. Nintendo 64, the first WWF game on Nintendo 64, WWF No Mercy. It introduced the ladder match into that series. THQ just really got with the wrestling game. They had a strong grapple versus light grapple situation. You had in situations, different situations where you could do top turnbuckle moves where you couldn't do before, superplexes and things like that. It really did. It set the stage for everything next gen. WWE, the games that he talked about as far as Raw vs. SmackDown, they were all THQ games. That was THQ moving forward. So, but the best game I ever played was that one. You could go through a storyline over and over again. Me and my best friend Jason, we wrestled so much on that game. He was the chairman. I was my wrestling name, Chris Anderson, and we would go at it. And I remember I was very, very, very good at this game. And Jason, it was one of the few games in history. Jason is better than me at video games. It was one of the few games he couldn't beat me at. So we finally did a ladder match for our world title. And Jason snuck, and he won the title, and he said he was never playing me again. I was like, you fucking heel. And I kept baiting him, and he finally played me again in a single match. And I think I won the match in like 2 minutes. I mean, I completely dominated. And I was like about to get the pin, because I decided I was about to tap him out because I decided he was going to tap out. I wasn't going to pin him, and he looked like he was about to tap out, and he turned the game off.
True heel. All right.
True heel. Much respect to Jason, because you know what? It was funny because it was like every match was me being bitter for all the times he kicked my ass at Matt. I'm like, we wanted to go history. Jason's like 1,006 against me and Matt. So it was like wrestling was the one game I was the best at because I knew all the strategies of wrestling, and I sat there and played the game for hours and hours at the end. I mean, I could beat the game with like Rey Mysterio on hard mode. It was very easy for me. So it was like that was like it for me as far as games. I remember because I was like in last year of high school when it came out. It was really good. It was really good.
Nice. All right.
But, yeah, it was the game I enjoyed the most.
Very cool. All right. Well, that was our top 5s for this week. And you know what, gentlemen? It's been nearly 3 hours. I think we should probably get out of here. We've taken up enough of Daniel's time today. So, Daniel, where can folks find you online?
You can follow me on Twitter, which I hardly ever post at DanicMcPressive. Find me on Facebook. My name is Daniel Plain Brew. Be sure to add blow-okc on Facebook for all of the Big Blow news coming out. And don't forget to come out to our show at the Blue Note Lounge on 23rd and Robinson, July 9th. At doors at 8 o'clock, $5, all-you-can-eat Buffalo Wings with the show out back. Come out and see us.
Once you said the all-you-can-eat Buffalo Wild Wings, I think I might have to be there for that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it. And this has been one of the best shows I think we've ever done. This has been a lot of fun. You are welcome to come back anytime. Anytime you have a show to you want to promote, hit us up. We will get you on here. And this has been awesome. So thank you so much.
Right on. It's been an absolute blast chopping it up with you guys. I appreciate you having me on here, and I'll definitely be back.
All right. Excellent. Now, Floyd, I do have a question for you. You know, is this all real? Is there something to this that I don't know? You know, this life thing.
Through my and many wrestling matches, I've realized, especially after our last presidential election, that life, my friends, is a work. please remember to kick out at 2. We will see you next time on the
Hear the drummer get wicked.